All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Close. I was about to say open, but it's a close. And we are closing out the market in 15 minutes. And what a close it has been on the market open. We did see history being made. We had Nvidia get to $4 trillion of market capitalization. It's not there again. It's at 162.72. Hopefully we get there. We hit 164 multiple times today, but we just weren't able to hold on to that. At one point, we got to 164.42. But regardless of if we get the close at 164 today, it is incredible. And it is very, very amazing, just astonishing, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. It is just insane to see a $4 trillion company in our lifetimes being made in front of us right now. So we'll have a lot to talk about in regards to Nvidia, why they're getting this $4 trillion market capitalization. Not only did Nvidia get to $4 trillion, the NASDAQ, the Qs, all-time highs, 555.99, basically up a little bit more than 0.5% today, almost 0.75%. The S&P 500 as well was a little wonky in the morning, but it looks like we're going to get that 623 close. 626 was the all-time high. We got to 624.72. Tesla kind of flat. Palantir piggybacking off Nvidia. We haven't seen 143 in almost 2 weeks. Nice to see. Back above 140, 143 on Palantir, up about 2.34%. Robinhood having not bad of a day, up 3.2%. Grab was chilling above 5 for a bit, up 4%. Google 176. We do have some updates on Google. This wick you see on Google right here down to 172. It was because OpenAI announced that they're releasing a new browser, and for some reason the street got upset about that. So we'll talk about that, implications of that. And then SoFi, we got 13 minutes left until the market close. Hopefully we can get a SoFi $20 close, which would be very, very exciting. And as I'm speaking right here, I think I see Bitcoin. Yep, there she goes, 111. All right, so when's the last time we saw Bitcoin here? Literally May 24th. All-time high is 112. Wow, Bitcoin's actually gunning for all-time highs. Bitcoin's actually gunning for all-time highs. There you go. So Bitcoin right there, 111.5. We'll talk more about that. There might be some catalysts and some headlines that could be driving Bitcoin adoption right here, 111.502. Again, Palantir 142.99. All-time highs on Palantir are 148. So we did get that dip down to 129 after the Russell rebounds. Now we are back to 143. Tesla right here, 297. And then Nvidia, really the story of the day, 162.82. Ethereum as well. I mean, maybe Bitcoin's kind of following Ethereum today. Ethereum, 2,700. That's up about 6.3%. Ethereum was around 2,400 for the past couple of weeks. It's now starting to get a little bit of a breakout, maybe because of Tom Lee, maybe because of the Ethereum treasuries. SBET, one of those treasuries, flat on the day. BMNR took a nasty little beating, down about 41%. Not the lows of the day at 57, but still pretty close. And then BT, I think, was relatively flat. This one's down about 2.7%. Pretty flat for the day. Misty is up too. Yeah, I saw that as well. Misty is one that doesn't really make that big of a move on the equity, but that one's up almost 3% as well. So you're seeing that momentum. It's pretty wild, bro. It is pretty wild. We are living in a world where we have a $4 trillion company in front of all of us. It was pretty just incredible to see it on the market open today, get to those levels. And we all know we've been waiting to get to those levels. And today it finally got there. So let's get a little bit of coverage on that. Then we'll talk about what the Fed said in their minutes, TLDR. They're not really that excited to, they're not excited to cut rates. They're not excited to raise rates either. I kind of think they're more excited to raise rates if they had to pick versus cut rates. But yeah, we'll talk about what the Fed minutes said, and here's some coverage on Nvidia at $4 trillion.
NVIDIA's newly achieved, albeit briefly, $4 trillion market cap today is really a valuation fueled by more than just chip sales. Investors are really buying into the transformation for NVIDIA into an AI infrastructure powerhouse. CEO Jensen Huang has repeatedly stressed that NVIDIA is no longer, quote, just a GPU company, calling that era the good old days at NVIDIA's GTC conference just this past March. He now describes NVIDIA as an AI algorithm firm, and with chip design almost secondary. The stock, like you mentioned, 40% surge since May, April. And that has been aided not only by the shift into an AI infrastructure, but also the thaw in US-China trade tensions, as well as multi-billion-dollar chip deals in the Middle East. But the long-term thesis really centers on NVIDIA's full-stack strategy. In networking, Bank of America says NVIDIA's NVLink is at least 1 to 2 generations ahead of its competitors, allowing chips to communicate faster with each other. Its InfiniBand technology could be even more significant, enabling ultra-high-speed communication across servers and data centers, which is really critical for large-scale AI workloads. In cloud computing, NVIDIA's new DGX Cloud Lepton gives it direct access to developers through partners like CoreWeave and Lambda, circumventing traditional cloud providers like AWS.
So it's reason after reason after reason to get excited about NVIDIA, not to mention that it's still cheap. If this is a company that does about 550 of EPS in a year and a half from now and 450 of EPS in the next 6 months to round out 2025, you put a reasonable 35 to 45 multiple. I mean, NVIDIA probably deserves a premium. Like, it's not crazy to say 45 to 50. You get closer to 200, 220 bucks, which means that, you know, at 160, buying it is not the craziest risk reward right here, especially given it's a blue chip name. And you can probably trust that not only their gross margins are going to inflect towards the latter half of the year as they've guided for, but that their demand is not going anywhere. And that is why NVIDIA gets to be a $4 trillion company. Bitcoin right here, 111.6. It's got about 500, 400 bucks left to go to break all-time highs at 112. The 52-week high is 112. The exact number on Bitcoin for all-time high is 112,051. 112,051 is what we need for Bitcoin to get above that. So very nice to see. I mean, look, overall, it's a pretty green day across your portfolio. I imagine people are having a fun day. S&P very close to all-time highs. Qs are basically at all-time highs, 557. No, they are at all-time highs right here. And then you got HIMS right here, 51, went down to 48, came back up 4%. ASTS, this one's been a little bit ugly. I don't know exactly what happened to ASTS today, but that one's been down about 6%. I did see some people buying the dip on that. MicroStrategy, wow, 414. Now I know why Misty's up. There you go. Bitcoin's running, so MicroStrategy's running. What about Coinbase? Coinbase is 373. That's up 5.3%. Hoodie up 3%. 94.50, 3.4. And then NVIDIA right there, 162.69. Lyft down 4% on the day. Uber, is that one down? Uber is also down about 1%. AMD 138, SoFi 2020. We got about 8 minutes left until the market closes. Look like we'll get a SoFi $20 close. And then you got Google at 176. Now, here's what the Fed said. A couple of participants said they would be open to considering a rate cut as soon as the July meeting if the data evolved as they expected. They said several participants said the Fed funds rate may not be far above its neutral rate. All participants viewed it as appropriate to maintain the Fed fund rates at the current target range, aka no cut. And most saw risk of present tariff impact on inflation, which is kind of what we were talking about in the morning, that if we do have these massive levels of tariffs, which Trump introduced a bunch more this morning on a variety of companies that we talked about on the market open, Iraq being one of them at basically 25 to 30%, that would make it challenging for the Fed, even perceptually, even if there wasn't any real inflation, the perception of the Fed would be, hey, maybe we slow down our roll and we don't cut rates. Let me check the probabilities on a July cut after these Fed minutes came out. Oh, wow. That's actually kind of bullish. Dude, in the morning, I showed you guys it was 65%. It just went up to 93%. Oh, no, sorry. Did it go down to 6%? 425 is where we're currently at, right? Yeah, oh, I was looking at July. Sorry, I meant to say September. It actually went down a little bit. Okay, 65 to 63. I meant to say July, we're not getting a cut, so I don't even know why I'm looking at July. Okay, so it went down a little bit, went down about 1%, but nothing too crazy from there. Bitcoin, she's trying. She's 200 points away. 200 points away for 112. She is not there yet. Let me pull up Webull. I think Webull's a little bit more accurate on the exact timing of Bitcoin. 111,882 to see if we can get there. 112 was on May 24th. 112 was on May 24th. Look at this candle today, bro. It was 109 in the morning. Now it's 75 bucks away. Here we go. This might be it. This might be it. Yeah, 10 minutes before the market closed, they let her run. She's taking away all the attention from the stocks. The stocks don't matter when Bitcoin is deciding to run. And obviously she has an implication on a lot of different stocks. It's funny because we were talking about Bitcoin this morning and sovereign debt and would you rather buy treasuries and Bitcoin, and now you're seeing some momentum. Now, in terms of headlines, if anyone has one on Bitcoin, let me know. I don't really see anything that crazy. I see a lot of headlines on Ethereum. I see a lot of stuff with MicroStrategy doing new preferred shares to buy more Bitcoin, but nothing that specific on Bitcoin itself. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. There you go. There it is. There she is, folks. Nvidia, 4 trillion. And on the same day, Bitcoin, not just a high of day, an all-time high for Bitcoin. we get 4 trillion Nvidia and we get Bitcoin at all-time highs. Dude, that's pretty incredible. Where is Ethereum? Now, it got rejected right at 112.67. We beat the all-time high by $15. So it got rejected immediately when it got there, but still, it was nice to see Ethereum up 7% on the day. Not bad. Also got rejected at 27.96, but still not doing too bad. Bitcoin right there, 111.7. MicroStrategy really getting some love right there. There you go, 413. Hoodie is at 94.36, and then Coin is at 372. Dude, is she going to 120? Because if she's going to 120, if you own Robinhood, you're going to have some fun. If you own MicroStrategy, you're probably also going to have some fun, given I don't think Saylor's really doing these at the monies anymore. He's kind of like raising money in other ways. So hopefully it doesn't dilute you, as Bitcoin runs to raise capital. And if you own Coinbase, it should be good. So, and if you own the miners, I mean, dude, some of the miners are coming back. CleanSpark up 8%, Marathon up 5%. What's the other one? Iren, this one we haven't looked at all day. This one, okay, this one's flat, but this one's already made a big move. But some of these miners have been, stuck in the gutter for the better part of 3 months, and they are starting to break out. Bitcoin right there, 111,797 on the board for Bitcoin. Yeah, Riot. I haven't looked at this in I think a month. Riot was at 9 last time I looked at it. There you go. It's at 12, up 5% on the day. Nice to see, bro. It's really nice to see. And again, today I've kind of just been thinking about what does it mean for Nvidia to hit 4 trillion. And I know we talked about it in the morning, but it is something that, I think we're going to see many more multi-trillion-dollar companies in the future. But for this one to be the first, Apple being the first trillion-dollar company in 2018, and for it to take about 7 years for us to now get the first $4 trillion company, Microsoft, Apple, I mean, they're not that far behind. They're in that 3.3, 3.7 range. Google, Meta, they're a little bit further behind, but those companies are going to catch up. Their earnings are going to grow, and we all get to share the 4 trillion. Like, this is what the people who hate capitalism don't understand. It's like if you own Nvidia, you're part of that 4 trillion. This is not just Jensen Huang's money. Like, this is he owns a specific percentage of a public company that other people can own. And if you do own it, it is part of the wealth sharing process. Bitcoin right there, 111.7, Ethereum 2760, Robinhood 94.50, Coinbase 373, SoFi. We got 2 minutes, folks. It looks like we're gonna get a $20 close on SoFi. It looks like we are gonna get a $20 close on SoFi. Do you think Nvidia could go higher? Yeah, I mean, maybe not in the next 2 minutes, but obviously, yeah. I think the earnings growth is there. And Citigroup, they put out a phenomenal report that we talked about yesterday about networking TAM, overall data center TAM, and they're bringing their estimates up because they just believe this market is not going anywhere. I will be live at probably like 10:50 p.m. Eastern tonight because Grok 4 is coming out at 11. And so that, I'm sure Elon's going to give us some more stats about how many GPUs and what clusters they're buying when it comes to building out their new training models. So that's just more demand for NVIDIA. And, when Grok 4 comes out, you're going to have competitors like Gemini and Llama and GPT try to beat Grok 4 if that is the gold standard. We'll see tonight. And it just means this arms race for AI. Again, I think the other reason why NVIDIA's been running is I think the street's looking at Zuck spending literally hundreds of millions of dollars on individual people and saying, oh, it's really serious. Like, either Zuck has lost his mind or he recognizes it is so serious to try to win this arms race, and that the money that's going to be allocated to try means that a lot of that money ultimately comes back to NVIDIA. And we shouldn't be too afraid to be buying it at these levels. Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible stuff to see how this is playing out. We got 10 seconds until we close. A historic day for NVIDIA, Bitcoin, and the broader stock market. There you go, folks. Wednesday, July 9th, 4 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now closed. All right, NVIDIA closes at a 3.97 trillion. Did not get the $4 trillion close, but we did hit it today, which is incredible. Iren right here up about 0.5%. Marathon up 5.3%. Robinhood up 3.58. Coinbase up 5.3. Bitcoin 111.8. The market does not close for Bitcoin, so we will keep an eye on that. We did hit all-time highs about 5 minutes ago, 111.8, and it looks like it should get right back there. I mean, it looks like it has a shot to get right back there, just about $300 below those all-time highs. SoFi gets its first $20 close in a long time. It's been 3 years. We hit 20 yesterday, but today it closed above 20, which is incredible. Tesla right here, 295, and Palantir back in action, 143. The options volume on Palantir today started to spike a little bit. So you might have some traders saying, hey, there's a move that we're expecting on this name. I don't have a fundamental reason for why. Palantir did get a deal today with a weather intelligence platform called tomorrow.io. Their earnings are going to be in early August. So I don't think there's any massive, pieces of news that I've seen over the past couple of days, but it was sold off. It got to 129 and maybe the market said, all right, we are piling back in right here for Palantir. CleanSpark 1247, Iren 1696. You got Materials Corporation. That one's at 30, down about 4% today. Oscar, this one's lost a lot of love, right? I mean, Oscar, I still think it's a great company. I still think it's fundamentally cheap. And I think if you have a long-term thesis over the next 10 years, Oscar should outperform. But I mean, it was a bit of a darling at 24, and now it's back down to 2.75. Granted, it was at 11 earlier in the year, right? So if you bought it at that time, you've done well. A lot of people got interested around 18, 19. So right now, ever since that big, beautiful bill got passed, that one's been taking a hit. United Health recovers from below 299. HIMSS right here, 51.18. That's up about 4.3%. Earnings start tomorrow. Tomorrow we get Delta earnings, and then officially next week we get all the banks. So earnings will be starting tomorrow. Nike down about 0.5%. Amazon, we got updates on the Amazon Prime Day stuff. We'll talk about in a second. That's up 1.4. Big Bear kind of recovered. It was down almost 10% during the day. Now it's only down 3%. So that's not too bad. BlackBerry right here down about 1.7. Microsoft hit 507 at one point in the day. 506.7 now, 503.51 on Mr. Microsoft, which is nice. Farzad's here. Says, I missed the cowbell. You missed the cowbell, Farzad, but regardless, we rang it multiple times today. We rang it so Nvidia hit 164. We saw it for like a millisecond, and then it went back down to 163.50. We waited. It wasn't coming back to 164, so I rang the cowbell. And then 3 seconds later, it actually busted through 164, and then we rang it again. And then we rang it just now 2 times, once for Bitcoin, once for the market close. So we've done a lot of cowboy ringing today, but it's fun, dude. I mean, like, we actually are hitting these momentous milestones in the equity markets, and for good reason. I mean, you got the earnings growth to justify it. MicroStrategy right here, 415. Again, Iren 17, Bitcoin 111.8, trying to get to 112, SoFi over 20, and then Tesla right here, 295. Tesla was a bit red on the day. I'm going to delete my channel out of chat. Farzad, do you know this band called Guns N' Roses? Because Steve was talking about it yesterday. And given you're a Metallica fan, just wondering if you know about that band as well. Because he mentioned it yesterday, and I was like, I have no idea what he's talking about. But see, Farzad doesn't see. Look, he said who? Farzad doesn't know either. Farzad, he's confused as well. All right, so let's get into the other stories that we got, and we will keep going from there in terms of all these different headlines. We do have a bunch of different things that happened in regards to Google, OpenAI, Amazon, etc. And so we'll get through these as we keep an eye on Bitcoin and keep going from there. Yes, I'm kidding. I know who Guns N' Roses is now. I didn't know them last night, but now I know them. Like, if you actually asked me who was Guns N' Roses last night, I would say I don't know. Maybe I would have said a band, but now I know. I haven't listened to their music, but it is what it is, bro. It is what I have to listen to. Welcome to the Jungle. That's the song that Steve said I have to listen to. All right. Speaking of Amazon, why did I say speaking of Amazon? We're not even speaking about Amazon. Speaking about listening to music in their prime. Now, speaking of Amazon Prime Day sales fall 41% in the first day of a 4-day event. Okay, so this one doesn't really matter that much. I think this headline's a little bit overrated. Last year Amazon had a 2-day event. This time it's a 4-day event. So of course, on the first day of a 4-day event of 96 hours versus 48 hours, you would imagine that the sales are not going to be that intense because people know they have multiple days to be like, there's just not that much FOMO or sense of urgency for people to actually, do the sales or to buy the products. But last year there was, because it was only 48 hours. So I do think we have to give it a little bit more time. Amazon was not really, hurt that much. 222.54, up about 1.45% on the day. So I don't think the market cared that much about this. But yeah, it was a little bit of a decline that Amazon did experience. Bitcoin right there. Are we back at 112? No, we are. All right, now it's getting rejected. So 111.60. We'll see if we can get back there. But that one is a little bit below that 112 level. Now, even with the sales declining, I think the market is interpreting AWS growth as being, advanced enough to be able to carry them through earnings. I think we all have to remember Amazon is a direct beneficiary of AI and the AI revolution. Nvidia getting to 4 trillion means that they're selling a lot of GPUs and collecting data center revenue. But in those data centers, you also have them running on top of cloud computing platforms like Microsoft, Azure, AWS, and GCP. And so I think if Nvidia is being seen by the market as like as having the ability to turn their demand into not only revenue but profit in the form of data centers, those data centers inextricably are linked to cloud computing platforms like Amazon. So from that perspective, even with sales going down, which remember, Amazon only makes like a 5.3% margin on their retail sales. That's not the moneymaker of the business. AWS, I think, is keeping it up to 22.54. Jeff Bezos did sell about 650 million worth of Amazon yesterday. No sales that we saw today on Amazon. Bitcoin right here, 111.612, and then Ethereum, 27.56. Okay, let's talk about Google. So we had one headline on Amazon. Here's what's going on with Google. OpenAI came out today, and they introduced a browser, or they say, or like sources are saying, they're going to release a web browser that is AI native. Now, this to me is kind of a nothing burger. It's a bit weird because like Google already is an AI web browser. Like when you search something in Google, you immediately have AI overviews. We did it today. We looked at a bunch of different AI overviews in regards to trade relationships between different countries in the United States. And it was perfect. It was fast. It was quick. It gives the answer. So I don't think OpenAI releasing a browser that is rooted in AI towards the web is a bear case. But the market acted like that, and that's when Google fell to 143. Now, what I did find today, which technically could be bearish Google the way you think about it, here is someone who got early access to Perplexity's Comet, which is their new browser. It's more of a agentic browser. And as you can see right here, he's on LinkedIn, this guy. He puts in a post, or he puts in a prompt saying, find me a post I should engage with on the AI assistant that is now attached to LinkedIn. And as you can see, the chatbot is literally going to scroll through LinkedIn, find a post that this guy should be responding to, engaging with, that's in his niche, in his community. The agent finds a post about Jensen Huang talking about AI. And now it's summarizing the post, and it's going to come up with what the person should comment underneath it in order to engage with the content. I mean, there's a lot of different nuances to this. I imagine Google will be able to figure this out. Microsoft will do this with Bing. Like, this doesn't seem like the most proprietary thing in the world, but it's hard to deny that Perplexity is moving really fast. And to see them having this much momentum with Comet that has already come out, I applied for the waitlist, but I don't have it yet. I'm definitely excited to try it out because I've been using Chrome for, I think, like 10 years. Like and let me know in the chat if you use something other than Chrome. I know some people use DuckDuckGo and stuff like that, but Chrome has always just been the fastest for me. For me to leave Chrome with all my data, Gmail, Docs, everything inside of Chrome, that's asking for a lot. But I'd be willing to try. You guys use Brave? Okay, I have Brave as well. I don't use that much. I have Firefox. I don't use Firefox that much. Google is kind of the main one that I use. But I mean, if something could make my life easier with that, it would not be crazy to try it out. 111.2 on Bitcoin. All right, momentum is dying out. It was at 112 literally for a second. Came all the way back down to 111.2. We'll see if we can get that momentum again. I'm still curious what caused that little bullish spike on Bitcoin. I don't see any major news right here, but it did have all-time highs. Yeah, nothing. I mean, Swedish public company H100 Group buys 46 Bitcoin worth over 5 million. You got that headline. Steak and Shake, the restaurant, they updated a image on their Twitter in orange, and they wrote Bitcoin on the image, which means theoretically you might be able to pay with Bitcoin. Oh, we saw that airline today that is now accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment. I don't know if those are enough headlines to get it to be back above 112, but still, you did see some momentum there. Here is the professor and his thoughts on seeing 4 trillion for Nvidia.
Consumer, and I think that that's really going to probably be a big part of our focus in July. If we don't hear much bad effects, boy, this bull market certainly, I think, has further to run. If we begin to hear, well, there's some hurdles that are harder to overcome, then we're going to see choppiness, I think, this quarter.
You feel like, you know, for the most part, the market has become a bit desensitized to the tariffs, Professor, because it just doesn't believe that the president's bark is ultimately going to be as severe, in the end. That the bite's not going to be as severe as the bark.
Yeah, well, there was the famous taco trade. It still does, though. Interestingly enough, move when he does speak of higher tariffs. I mean, certainly we all have to discount it because he often backs down. Now, it's my belief that all countries that come to the table in some way, even if they haven't gotten a finalized deal, will probably be given a delay. And I think that is exactly what the market assumes. And if that happens, that certainly is a positive. But even at the current levels, remember, 10% across the board, selectively more. I mean, he threatened copper. I don't know if that's going to come through, but certainly, aluminum and steel, we already see those higher prices. So we're dealing with 10% base, 30% from China, maybe 40% from China. There's even at the best case scenario, there are hurdles. They are overcomable, but it requires work by firms. And I want to hear how they're going to do it.
I'm trying to think also, as you were talking about the boom in AI and productivity and the like, I can foresee a scenario in which that doesn't sound so great for the American worker. It sounds really good for the American investor, because companies are going to have the ability to get leaner. They're going to be able to preserve their margins. They're going to be more efficient. People are going to be more productive, but the boom in AI itself is going to have a negative impact on the American workforce, like has been already discussed since this whole thing burst on the scene a couple of years ago.
Right. And the question is it more evolutionary or revolutionary? I mean, there were a lot of people, as we all know, when the internet, came on the scene in 2000, said there wouldn't be a single retail store by 2025. Well, here we are. Now, internet is, about 1/3 of sales or close to it, but we still have a lot of others. And we still have a lot of other demands. And, you take a look at the JOLTS report, there's still a lot of job openings for those people. I think a lot of those people are going to be told, you increase your productivity by AI and you got a job.
Now, you've got to believe those JOLTS reports are true, which I think are in question, given the non-farm payroll reports and the private ADP payrolls that we have. But I think a few more months of JOLTS along with ADP and non-farm gives us a much more sophisticated understanding of if this labor market is like actually healthy. Because right now on the baseline data, you say, yeah, it's pretty damn healthy. But I would say until, September, October, we need data to better equivocate if it is something the Fed should worry about or not. I don't see a headline on Bitcoin, but I've got this great graphic right here by Bitwise, which runs the BITB Bitcoin ETF. And this could be your headline, even if it's not a direct headline. The answer is just companies are buying a lot more Bitcoin. In Q2, 159,000 Bitcoin were purchased. The MicroStrategies, the Meta Planets, the GameStops, Trump Media, 21, Jack Mallers' firm, all these companies buying Bitcoin. Mara has 49,000 Bitcoin, 21 has 37,000, Riot has 19, Meta Planet 13, and then Strategy 597,000. 125 companies now own Bitcoin in the public markets. 46 new companies bought Bitcoin on the balance sheet in Q2, which pretty incredible. 91 billion is the total value of Bitcoin holdings in the public markets for these public Bitcoin treasuries, which is a 60.93% change quarter over quarter from Q1. So, I mean, maybe the headline is simply that these companies in the public markets, and we haven't even had the Metas, the Googles, or the Amazons put their finger in all of this, but like maybe a lot of companies are saying instead of treasuries, we're going to trust Bitcoin, which is maybe not the best for US bonds, but it's great for Bitcoin. And if Meta or Microsoft or Apple comes out, I mean, dude, at this point, I think Apple shareholders would rather have them buy Bitcoin than Perplexity. Like, I think Apple shareholders are just like asking for Tim Cook to do something. And if you get a sovereign or a corporation that actually has the capital to keep plowing into Bitcoin to put it in, it would be pretty incredible. It would be pretty incredible to see if that could play out. So yeah, I mean, supply shock on a scarce asset. And although I know a lot of people don't see the utility of Bitcoin, the store of value is kind of the core utility. And that is what I guess hedge funds and a lot of these money managers are thinking about when it comes to Bitcoin. Pound right here, 142.75, 94.53 on Robinhood. Now, again, it will be very interesting when an official corporation puts their hat in the ring and says, let's do it. Like Meta and Microsoft, they asked their board of directors on if they should buy Bitcoin, and the shareholders voted no. And the reason they voted no is probably because they think it's too volatile. But nonetheless, like at some point, who knows? Maybe it doesn't become volatile. Maybe it just becomes as easy as buying. It's definitely as liquid as buying treasuries, but obviously it's not as safe as buying treasuries. Dude, what? There is no way I said that word wrong. I think this is like, I think what? How do you say it's scarce? How do you say? Hold on. I'm not trolling here. This is not. It's freaking scarce, dude. How do you say? How does it? This is happening too much, bro. This is happening like every day at this point. I feel like you guys are trolling me more than anything.
Scarce.
Okay. You know, does anyone do English lessons? Because I'd be willing to pay. Is there any consultant in the chat that teaches English? Because apparently Rutgers, apparently Franklin Elementary School, apparently Burnett Middle School, apparently Science Park High School, apparently they didn't really know how to. I'm blaming I'm blaming the American education system at this point. I'm not blaming myself. Like sometimes you take accountability. I'm not taking accountability for this. I'm just not. And I'm not using Duolingo. I've already went on my rant about Duolingo. So I'd rather pay an actual consultant at this point than this stupid Duolingo messing up my ETF performance. By the way, let me how did you guys let me pick this stupid dumbass owl that teaches you language? Like this was really my last pick. Goodness great. I could have picked freaking Nike at 62. Picked freaking Duolingo. Matt's up 12, Tanner's up 8, I'm up 1.8, Steve's up 3, Chris is up 1.4. So it's Matt, Tanner, Steve, Amit, Chris. Matt and Tanner are kind of running away with this right now. I think I told you guys I was going to hire a fashion consultant. I think I need to hire an English consultant. Like this is getting scarce, really? It doesn't look like scarce. It looks like scarce. Like it just doesn't like. Look at that. That looks like scarce. Where's like the E should be near where the A is. Look at how you see how it says what it sounds like. Why do they put an E right there, but then they put an A, ska instead of ske? Like this is just a dumbass language at this point, bro. This is not my fault. It's just not. I'm all about personal accountability, but it's all right, Amit. It's effort is what counts. Dude, this is why I can never be on CNBC, because they have to like introduce the guest and like say their names, and I would just like mess that up every single day, bro. Every single day. It just wouldn't work. S&P 500 right there, 623.84. All right, we also have one of my favorite analysts, Gabriella Santos, live, and here's what she had to say about the Fed and if we really do need a rate cut or not when it comes to this cycle going into the summer.
Focus more on growth and deregulation and then coming rate cuts, that now the bulk of the gains are likely to come here, not there.
I would somewhat disagree. I think now that we're back to all-time highs, 22 times in the PE, I think from here, the further gains in U.S. equities are much more incremental and beneath the surface. I think where you can still have room for plenty of outsized gains is where you have underappreciated positive stories, a lot of which does end up leading us back to international. So the first half of the year, international outperformed by 1,200 basis points. Half of that was the dollar weakening 10%, the best start since 2007, but that was after 15 years of an over appreciation of the U.S. premium and discount of everything overseas. I think a good parallel to keep in mind is the period of 2002 to 2007, where you had a long lower dollar cycle by 40%. And you had a long period of international outperformance that went on for about those 6 years and 70%. So a lot more to go. And we like some international laggards this year, places like Japan and India, where there's still good stories, but where the multiples haven't expanded as much as Europe.
Professor, why don't you grade that trade? You are the professor after all. I mean, U.S. versus international. And the perspective that you just heard from the ladies on the show, that maybe international is going to give you a better value at this particular time, even with the gains that it's already had.
Folks, real quick, before we get to that, we got some breaking news. Kellogg is up 50% right here after hours, 53%. That's after hours, right? Or was that during the day? No, that's after hours. That's literally right now. Okay, so 53% Kellogg, KLG, Italian candy maker. I think I should be able to say this correctly. Ferrero. Are they the ones that make Ferrero Rocher, the chocolate? But Ferrero nears roughly $3 billion deal for maker of Fruit Loops and Frosted Flakes, Kellogg. Wow. The Italian candy maker between, okay, so they make Ferrero Rocher and Nutella. They're nearing a roughly $3 billion deal to buy out the breakfast cereal conglomerate, Kellogg. Wow. M&A is back, baby. Look at that. This was a market cap of 1.5, so it's a 50% premium. So they're buying it at 3. Kellogg makes Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes, and Rice Krispies. Those, at least if you're in America, you probably know those brands, and I'm sure all around the world, most people know Rice Krispies, Fruit Loops, and Frosted Flakes. Ferrero has been targeting the U.S. for acquisitions to grow geographically and expand by category. It brought Wells Enterprises, the maker of Blue Bunny and other ice cream brands, and before that, struck a $2.8 billion deal to acquire Nestle's U.S. chocolate business. The stock has been pretty flat for a while for Kellogg, right? Yeah, I mean, even all time. It peaked at 24 back in April of 2024, then just been kind of flat, and then it was at 15 today. Now it's at 26. There you go. M&As are back. Now, look, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, all of these people are underwriting the M&A to be able to make it actually happen. And so you've got a lot of banks in the middle of the M&A process that collect money, which is actually the exciting part for financials, which, again, financials will have their earnings starting next week. We have Delta tomorrow, and then this is what we got next week. We got JP Morgan, Citigroup, BlackRock, Wells Fargo on Tuesday. ASML, J&J, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America on Wednesday, along with Morgan Stanley, United, and T-Mobile. Then you have Netflix. That's our first big tech company on the 17th. IBKR, Grab, and Robinhood, both July 30th. And then on the 18th, you have American Express, Schwab, and 3M. So you got a lot of these financials that are beginning to report. And then the week after that, there you go. Tesla, Google, Chipotle, NASDAQ, Honeywell, Verizon, Domino's, TSM, Intel, Deckers, Texas Roadhouse, Boston Scientific, Moody's, AT&T. You got a lot of the big boys that are going to be starting to report. Wow, dude. They bought Kellogg, huh? They bought Kellogg. $3 billion for Kellogg. Kellogg did pay a dividend of 3.84% as well. So there you go. That one is now getting bought out.
Well, as I've always said, Scott, in the short run, investors should chase earnings. And if they guess them right, they're going to do really well. In the long run, if you go with valuation, that's proved to be the winner. And you might have to be extremely patient, just as Gabriella mentioned. It has been the longest time that we've had in 100 years where growth has outperformed value, or even the U.S. Outside of international wars, et cetera, has really outperformed for so long Europe. And Europe is still selling 15 times earnings outside the U.S. Basically, you're at a 15, 16 times earnings world, in many cases 12, 13. You don't need much growth with those valuations to generate returns that is good enough as the S&P 500 once you reach 20 PE. So, I say in the long run, I absolutely agree. And we should also realize, even though we had a sigh of relief with that Friday employment report, it wasn't as bad as we feared. Once you strip out that local government growth, it was below expectations. The St. Louis GDP now, for second quarter, they said it's 2.5%. Well, I remember first quarter was -0.5%. That means the average of the two, we had 1% growth in the first half of this year, which is really not very fast. So
which is why I also think it's going to take a couple of more months of data, because right now this labor market looks like it's okay. He's right. If you stripped out state and local jobs on non-farm payrolls, it was worse than expected. That's not, the worst thing in the world for the labor market, given you have other pieces of data like JOLTS that were kind of backing it up and providing a cushion. But if that does look ugly by the end of September, first of all, we'll definitely get a rate cut. The question is, can we walk the fine line of getting the rate cut with a weak labor market while also not having equities get hit? And right now, I mean, when you look at consumer confidence, I mean, I don't know, bro. I would love to know what you guys think about in the chat as well. Consumer confidence, although the levels that we've seen from the aggregated reports every week are coming in a little bit better than expected. I think last week was like 68 and the market expected like 57. So it was way better than expected. But consumer confidence is not horrible. And that partly is because like the price of eggs is not like it was back in January, right? So consumers have a little bit more confidence about going out, paying for services, and buying groceries, given it's just not as bad as it was back at the end of 2024, early 2025. But still, if that starts to take a little bit of a hit, I think that potentially could have an impact. Could have an impact on earnings as well. Yeah, Trueflation does have us at 1.75. Currently, we're at 2.7. And it's up for, JPOW to decide if that's a good thing or not. DLTR Dollar Tree, they're up 2%. Do they? Yeah, they just announced, I think that is correct, a $2.5 billion buyback. Wow. Dollar Tree's doing a buyback? When's the last time these guys did a buyback? Yeah, there you go. Dollar Tree just authorized a new $2.5 billion share repurchase program, matching its previous 2021. The company had $450 million left in the program. Okay, so they haven't issued a new buyback program in over 4 years, and they just did. You don't really see this in a bearish market, bro. And Dollar Tree was actually getting hit back in 2024 because the narrative was weak consumer, low income consumer. Tariffs potentially could be bad for that, a low income consumer in a retail store that already barely has any margins like a Dollar Tree. The fact that they're buying back their stock, I mean, it's pretty incredible. This stock year to date, DLTR, is wow, dude. Did anyone see this thing this year? I don't think we got to put this on the watch list. Almost 40% up year to date. I mean, cool. That's like, I know everyone's been deep into tech all year, but still. Oh, we got a new tariff from Trump. New tariff, Brazil. Brazil gets 50%. Wow. 50% tariffs from Brazil, or from the United States onto Brazil. Dollar General as well. Let me check this stock real quick. Dollar Tree's up 37%. Dollar General, wow, 48%. I have not looked at the Dollar Tree stocks and the Dollar General stocks all year, but there you go. Dollar General and Dollar Tree outperforming most of the Max 7 right here. Brazil gets 50%. Okay, Trump wrote, due in part to Brazil's insidious attacks on free elections and the fundamental free speech rights of Americans, as lately illustrated by the Brazilian Supreme Court, which has issued hundreds of secret and unlawful censorship orders to U.S. social media platforms, threatening them with millions of dollars in fines. Starting on August 1st, we will charge Brazil a tariff of 50% on any and all Brazilian products sent into the United States. Nvidia 162.85 after hours. Melly is tanking. This one is oh, where's Nubank? I don't even want to look at Nubank. Melly's down. Nubank, let's see how bad it is. Nubank, that's not too bad. Down 0.5%. That's not too crazy. That's not great. It was at 1384. It's at 1350. Not too bad. But Brazil and Mercado Libre. Starbucks does have a big Brazilian presence. That is correct. Starbucks. Well, I mean, even if they don't have a big Brazilian presence, they get a ton of their coffee beans from Brazil as well. Starbucks is flat after hours, not getting hit too bad. But that is what we're doing. 50% on Brazil. All right, there you go. So we had a bunch of them announced today. We talked about them in the open. I would imagine, potentially in the next couple hours, we see more. Today is the day that Besant said on Sunday night we would see trade deals. If he meant letters, we've gotten tons of letters. Don't really see any of these deals. Now, granted, I still don't think the market believes that on April 1st or on August 1st, we're actually going to feel these tariffs. If we do, then we do, but right now, the market's not acting like that. S&P 500, not even flinching after hours. Not even flinching, bro. S&P doesn't care. S&P doesn't care. Let's use Google again. What public companies would be affected by a 50% tariff on Brazil. Let's see if Gemini can give us some other names. Let's see. Steel and aluminum industry. Brazil is a major exporter of steel and aluminum. Dude, like I was doing some more research into copper today. A 50% tariff on copper makes 0 sense, bro. Like I knew it made 0 sense yesterday, but I started researching like where copper is valuable in the United States and supply chains, manufacturing. There is no way in hell we're going to tariff copper 50%. And if we do, it's the most idiotic thing ever. So it's just like, I really don't think that's going to be happening, even with Lutnick's threats yesterday. Agricultural sector, Brazilian exports of soybeans, coffee, and beef to the U.S. are significant. Aerospace, Embraer, a major Brazilian aircraft manufacturer, could be affected if the 10% tariff already announced on jets persists or increases. And the chemical industry with companies like Bascom and Yara Brazil Fertilizantes SA could be impacted as they import and export a variety of chemical products and fertilizers. All right. There you go. That's what we got in Brazil. Tacos are going to be more expensive. Dude, I've never been to Brazil. Has anyone ever been to Brazil? Do we have any Brazilians in the chat? I would love to go to Brazil. I would love to go to Brazil. I think like I've seen so many like vlogs and videos of people traveling to Brazil, but I've never actually seen myself. I know they have the massive statue of Christ. Like I would love to see that as well. That's just like would be incredible to see in person. But I've never been there. Did Elon tweet anything? Elon? No, just updates on Grok 4. All right, so Grok 4, he just confirmed that Grok 4 tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern. He also said the value, oh wow, he said this right here. The value of AI companies will exceed non-AI probably by an order of magnitude. So even Elon getting ready to hype up XAI, which is his AI company, releasing their latest model tonight. We have Gabrielle. He's from Brazil. I love it. Martin says my wife is from Brazil. We got a couple people from Brazil in the chat. Kevin went to Brazil once. Commando says I'm in Brazil right now. Sanjay's been to Rio. Yeah, I've never been to Brazil. No jersey over the sweater today? No, not today. I gave you guys enough of your coffee roastings yesterday for me. So we gotta bounce it out. But I do have another jersey. So dude, you guys said it looked like an apron, bro. First of all, it's too hot to do that again. You know, yesterday was kind of like whatever, but like today it was just like it's still too. Dude, I feel like India is colder than New Jersey today. Like New Jersey is ridiculous. It's like 110 degrees. It's like it's just stupid in New Jersey right now. But in my room, it's kind of cold, so that's all right. How do you feel about Tesla right now? Generally, I think Tesla's in a fine position if there's no American party. I know the earnings suck, but I think that there still should be substantial progress on robotaxis, and the street will pull that guidance for us. We looked at an article this morning, though, saying that robots are going to be delayed. We do have an update, speaking of robots, right here by Figure. Brett Adcock, CEO of Figure, he tweeted this just this morning. But we read an article this morning, and we don't know if it's fully confirmed, but sources are saying that that Tesla's Optimus division is just having major delays. And Elon said 500,000 robots by 2027. That's got to be a pipe dream at this point. He said 50,000 by 2026. Still feels like a pipe dream. I mean, the robots seem to be far away. Here's what Brett tweeted this morning. For the first time in human history, general robotics is within reach. Figure's top focus is solving general robotics. The path ahead is clear, and I expect our complete, undivided focus on it. To support manufacturing, supply chain, and fleet ops, we've tripled the team to 293 people. We'll stay disciplined with a headcount. Every hire needs my CEO approval. Our new Northern California campus will house design and engineering, bot queue manufacturing, and fleet operations. We have line of sight to 100,000 robots with a robust supply chain. This is just the beginning. The stakes are high as we race to solve general robotics, internalize the urgency of this moment. All right, so although I think Tesla has a massive manufacturing advantage against every other startup, including Figure, Figure seems to have this as their, sole focus. And that might be the differentiator in terms of Figure getting to market before Tesla. Now, I still think that's going to be very hard because it's freaking Tesla. And there would need to be some major delays in the overall progress of Tesla to get there. Now, the one thing I will say, though, is Grok is pivotal to this, right? The robot needs a brain. And for the robot to get a brain, you need a sophisticated AI model, which theoretically could be Grok. So maybe that is the missing component to get them out into the real world. But also the robots just need a lot of practice and training. And when Figure released that 1-hour video of the robot manually flipping over different packages, that needs to happen for tens and hundreds of thousands of hours to train the robots to be actually effective for a BMW, for an Amazon, for a Walmart. And I think that's going to take some time. Yeah, data is the bottleneck. Exactly. Robots also do need copper. That is correct. That is also correct. Okay, let's finish up with Gabriella Santos and her thoughts on the Fed, and then we'll keep going from there.
What the stock market would do is rates did the opposite. They went up, and we had a very resilient stock market because over time, the economy and large cap corporate earnings have become less sensitive to moves in rates. And why would we expect anything different on the way down when interest rates are gradually coming down? What we don't believe is really an investment to chase here is much more the pockets of the market that require lower rates and reaccelerating growth to actually work. So to your question, still large cap over small cap, and still avoiding areas of the market that have gotten beat up, but that are still challenged, like retail, like home builders. It's just not quite that environment. It's still a soggy economic growth with elevated rates.
This doesn't sound, Professor, like a run to the rescue environment, right? Not yet.
No, it's not a run to the rescue. But, outside of tariffs, I see prices going down. And as I've mentioned, tariffs are like a tax, and I don't think the Fed should keep a tight position in the face of a tax. And growth is definitely slow. I mean, what was the average GDP growth last year? I mean, it was 2.5% to 3%. I said 1% this half. I mean, this big slowdown in immigration that we've had. We have tariffs. Payrolls down to about half to a third of the average growth of last year. Again, we're not in recession mode by any means, but again, ex-tariffs, prices going down, slower economic growth, inverted term structure where the Fed funds rate is above the 10-year. That's not historically the best place to be.
Which is why Trump every day, including today, twice today, tweeted that Powell needs to cut rates, which at this point it's becoming comical because I think Trump feels like if he just keeps saying it, he's going to manifest it into reality. But it's like the pressure you've been putting on Powell for the past 5 months has been intense, and Powell has done nothing. Maybe because Powell doesn't care about the pressure and he's not going to fold. So putting more pressure, I don't know if there's any residual value that gets him over the brink. But nonetheless, the federal funds rate being higher than the 10-year obviously is a bit aggressive. So what Gabriella was saying was that, hey, when we raised rates to like the highest levels in 40 years, the stock market was fine outside of 2022 because companies were like restructuring all the bloatedness that they had in 2021. In 2023, corporate earnings were phenomenal, and that continued into 2024, and the markets went up. So her argument is, even if you cut rates, it's not really a bearish argument. It's more so just like, hey, you can't expect the markets to go crazy when you cut rates because cutting rate, or basically corporate earnings are now desensitized to rate cuts. Like Amazon and Google really don't care that much about where the 10-year is. Like it just doesn't affect them. They're going to produce results no matter what. Now, smaller companies that are depending on treasury income to become GAAP profitable, or they legit need to borrow money, so the cost of capital does matter. I mean, Google's cost of capital is basically nothing, whereas a smaller company that's worth $10 billion is 4.5%, 5%. That really does matter. But for the hyperscalers, which have the majority of the stock market, I mean, the Max 7 are 33% of the S&P 500. They don't really care about rates. And they're probably not going to care about rates for a while. So I think that's the broader argument right here, regardless of what happens with rates or not. Okay, Trump did have a meeting today. He was live and he said a bunch of things. So I'm going to just play, I'm going to tell you guys some of the quotes that we got from Trump. There was a bunch of different things he was asked about. We know yesterday got really testy with a reporter when they asked about Epstein, and he said, why are we still talking about him? Which kind of makes you think that there's something going on, but he was not asked about Epstein today. So here's what he said. He said, A, he'll travel to Africa at some point. B, he says, we'll take another look at sending another Patriot system to Ukraine. Trump has kind of flipped his tone on Ukraine, by the way. I mean, we had that big hoopla in the office about, telling Zelensky that we're not going to send him any more stuff. And then recently he said that I think we need to send Ukraine some more goods. And, part of the reason might be because I think he's getting really annoyed with Russia. And he knows that, like, at the end of the day, they might have to send more to defend Ukraine. So that was one of the things that he said. The other thing that he said right here is we'll have more tariffs coming out tomorrow. He said Brazil's number will come out. We got that 10 minutes ago. Brazil's number is 50%. He said we haven't had too many complaints on the tariffs. He might be BSing there, or he might be saying the companies are fine with 40% tariffs, but I guess we'll find out by August 1st. And then he says, I don't think African countries at meeting will face tariffs. He says there's a very good chance of settlement this week on Gaza. That's why Netanyahu was at the White House yesterday talking about that. And then he just said we should have low interest rates and J-Powell needs to cut rates. That was the extent of what he said. Yes, Trump did say defensive arms. That's correct. He didn't say offensive weapons. But the point is, I mean, like, he's going to send Ukraine more stuff, right? And I think we remember he made a pretty big deal of not wanting to send Ukraine a ton of weapons. And I think even he's recognizing that, maybe this is the only way that we are going to have a shot to deal with Russia. Here's exactly when Trump said that they're going to be sending more aid to Ukraine. This was 2 days ago.
Are you planning to send more weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard.
Tell me that's not a full 180 from when he was in the Oval Office with Zelensky yelling at him about you don't have the cards. Like, I think the reason for that 180 is because he thought that he could be the guy to tell Putin to, like, calm the hell down. And that's just not worked. And Trump has been pretty vocal about his frustrations with Putin, but nonetheless, it has not worked. Now, here is, I don't know if some of you guys caught this, but this was a leaked piece of audio that came out from a Trump fundraising meeting back in 2024. And here's what he said to some donors about his first term and why Ukraine would have never happened, the Ukraine invasion, and why some of the issues in China would have never happened as well.
Putin said, if you go in Ukraine, they'll bomb the shit out of Moscow.
Okay, you guys can't hear that well. Let me get a better video on this because I was watching this last night. This is legitimate audio that was leaked from a 2024 fundraiser on Trump. I think I have a better video that I can show you guys. I was pretty fascinated when I heard it. Okay, here it is. Let me show this video. This one should be better. All right, here is what he said.
If you go in Ukraine, they'll bomb the shit out of Moscow. I'm telling you, I have no choice. The public. So he goes like, I don't believe you. He said, no way. And I said, way. And then he goes like, I don't believe you. But the truth is, he believed me 10%. And I told you this, he believed me 10%. Then I'm with President Xi of China. But I said the same thing to them. I said, if you go into Taiwan, I'm going to bomb the shit out of Beijing. He thought I was crazy. He said, Beijing, you're going to bomb Beijing. I said, I have no choice. I got to bomb them. We're going to bomb Beijing. And he didn't believe me either, except 10%. And 10% is all you need. In fact, 5% would have been okay too. And we never had a problem. We would have never had a problem.
That's kind of wild, bro. It's kind of wild. Now, granted, Trump is Trump, say whatever you want about Trump. He is one of the best political talents in American history. He knows how to adapt. He knows how to be something for some people, another thing for other people, right? You've got to be able to embrace all types of demographics and populations to get elected. But in that fundraiser, I don't know who the fundraiser was with, but there were probably some pretty hefty donors with heavy pockets. He said, hey, this whole Russia-Ukraine mess that caused us to send over $400 billion of weapons to Ukraine, it wouldn't have happened because I told Russia I would bomb the shit out of them. And whether I don't know if he's lying about that, or I don't know if he's telling the truth. Part of me believes he did tell Russia he would bomb the shit out of them. And I don't know. It is a hell of a thing to say to a foreign leader. But if anyone was going to say it, I think Trump would say it. That could be the reason why Trump is so pissed off right now. And why does this matter to the stock market? Because we kind of need peace with Russia and Ukraine. We need this stuff to be over at some point, not only just for the market, obviously, but thousands of people are dying every week. Like, at some point, this has to end. And I think Trump thought he would have ended it by now. I mean, he ran on the idea that he would end the war in the first day. And I didn't ever take that seriously because, that's just hyperbole. I didn't expect the president to end the war in a day, but I think it's been 6 months now and he's pretty pissed off. And we're going to have to send Ukraine more weapons based on that clip I just showed you. And he's admitting like, yeah, we kind of have to because Russia's not giving up. And it could be a drag on obviously peace and the global economy. So it is a bit of a 180 from what we saw a few months ago, but it's also the reality of being a president and dealing with the fact that, this is the new normal that we live in. I am curious though, as Dougie says in the chat, what some of, the anti-Ukraine people say, like a David Sachs, right? David Sachs has been one of the biggest supporters of Donald Trump. He's been one of the biggest public figures who had a voice against giving Ukraine weapons. He's probably not going to comment on it, but I would be curious to see how they spin this. And there is no spin. Like at the end of the day, like they know we have to defend them to some extent or else Russia's going to win. And, Palantir probably still is involved in that as well. So this is going to be one of those things in the coming months that if we have good earnings growth and we have inflation come down, which means we get the rate cuts along with the momentum from AI, if you could put the cherry on top, which is some peace in the Middle East and then peace geopolitically across the world with Russia and Ukraine, that would obviously be a very good thing for the economy and for the broader world. SoFi right here, 2015. We did get that $20 close over SoFi. Nvidia 162 is HIMS running after hours. HIMS 50.99. That's up about 4%, up a little bit after hours, not making too big of a move. And then Microsoft right here, 503 as well. All right, so let's look at another story right here. Now, this story today was very interesting. It goes back to the AI arms race. Meta has reportedly switched their internal coding assistants. So the engineers at Meta every engineer at every major tech company are now using coding assistants, right? They're not just coding on their own. They're having something help you do the coding. Meta was using Llama as the foundational de facto LLM that would allow engineers at Meta to better code, because why wouldn't you use your own company's LLM? They've switched apparently to Anthropic. Here's some of the reporting. Internally, this change is a big deal given how heavily Meta has invested into its Llamas product. This move officially acknowledges that Anthropic's models are currently far ahead of Meta's own LLMs. I suspect Meta will double down to try to make their next Llama versions more capable for coding, but until then, it doesn't want to hold back engineers, which partly could be the reason why they're buying so many of these engineers, or stealing so many of these engineers from OpenAI. I said buying these. I mean, they're basically buying these engineers to work for them. Put in the chat if you use Sonnet or Claude or any level of Anthropic products specifically for coding. I don't code every day. I'm not a software engineer, but I'm sure a bunch of you guys in the chat are software engineers, and Palantir has a partnership with Anthropic. They revealed a month ago that AIP is integrated with Claude for high-level coding prompts. So when you ask something inside of AIP, instead of just like summarizing information, it actually can code out a solution and then give you the either summarized response or take action based on that code. A friend that I know very well who works at who is a sophomore at Berkeley, he uses Claude exclusively when it comes to coding. It seems like that is the model, just from my own anecdotal experience, for people when they're coding or when they're using any level of coding assistance. And Meta's kind of admitting it right now as well. Yeah, a bunch of you in the chat. Are saying that. Sai says every single day. Mike says Claude for serious code stuff, GPT for math. Claude in Perplexity. Dividend Investing says I only use Claude for coding. It's the best LLM. Claude is the GOAT. I use Sonnet. It's definitely better for coding. Yeah, so here's the thing. Anthropic's valuation, if I'm not wrong, is $60 billion. Google and Amazon have stakes in that. OpenAI is at $300 billion. Obviously, OpenAI from a consumer's perspective has a lot more value than Anthropic. But I mean, consumers at the end of the day are fickle, and not all of them are going to pay $20 a month. Enterprises are going to pay a lot of money for something like Anthropic, especially if they are by far and ahead the best model when it comes to coding. So who knows, man? Maybe Anthropic is the dark horse here that more people need to pay attention to when it comes to AI. And Anthropic's CEO actually came out and said, and this is probably the reason he said AI is going to take away a lot of these white collar jobs, and that no one's actually talking about it. And maybe part of the reason he's saying that is because he's realizing that his LLM is being used in all these major corporations for a very white collar type of job, knowledge worker type of job. in that eventually you're not going to need the actual knowledge worker because the agent's just going to figure out the work. So that could be one of those things that's relatively bullish for Anthropic. And, a lot of that money comes back to Nvidia at the end of the day as well. Yeah, a lot of you guys saying Claude is kind of that core model. Figma IPO is interesting. Figma IPO is very interesting, but unfortunately it's not, I mean, I don't think it's going public for like another month or month and a half. The S1, we talked about it though already. It's a great IPO. I'm going to ask for some shares. I mean, if they go anywhere near 30 billion on the S1, I would ask for an allocation. I doubt I'm going to get it though. I think it's going to be so oversubscribed. It's going to be pure luck if I get it. There's not that many companies that are profitable, growing above 40% and have $1.5 billion in cash. And Figma does. I can't wait till Canva goes public, bro. That's the one I want to buy. Canva has, people don't know, Canva has 220 million monthly active users. Like, and it costs $13 a month or $12 a month to be able to use it. It's the most like AI native friendly product for designing photos or videos. I use it every day for thumbnails. Like, Canva's incredible. And I think Melanie Perkins, she's an Aussie. She's an absolute rock star. They raised that 50 billion in 2021. That's when things were frothy. I think they're probably going to raise it like 40 billion this time. But that would be the IPO that I'd be excited about. I've not looked into GRR, GRRR, but they did announce Gorilla Technology Group. They did announce a partnership with Nvidia today. That's why this stock is up 16% on the day. This is a small cap, micro cap, $550 million company. They're in the IoT security, edge AI, data analytics space, and they announced a partnership with Nvidia. That's why the stock surged up 16.4%. I do not own it, but this one has definitely had a lot of momentum this whole year. And then, you attach a video to anything, that's going to get people excited. Canva is not used in big orbs. Figma is used every day for UI by design. Yeah, I agree. Look, Figma and Canva are great companies. I mean, both of them. Figma has a massive moat inside of the enterprise space. Canva for consumers. I think both will do very well. I think both will do very, very well. And they've embraced AI kind of natively. They haven't let AI become something that's more commoditizing for them. Whereas Adobe, I feel like, the embracement of AI just has not been that exciting for what they've been showing to the market. Here are some of the Bitcoin inflows. We've been talking about if retail's been in Bitcoin or not. For the past 3 days, we've had inflows of 400 million, 600 million, and 216 million. And about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, last week of June, we had 350, 588, 547, 226, 501, and 102. And then July 1st, you had a little bit of a outflow of 342, but pretty much every single day, you've been seeing a couple $100 million of inflows from retail. Some institutionals buy these ETFs as well, but majority retail into the Bitcoin ETFs. Bitcoin ETFs now have about 70 billion under custody. Maybe that is kind of part of the reason why Bitcoin's getting some love. It is getting hit from 112 to 110. So we got all-time highs for 2 seconds, and then it went away. We got Bitcoin right here, 110,000.7. Kellogg's is up because they are getting acquired by Ferrero, which is an Italian candy maker. And that's why that stock is getting a 50% premium for being bought out. I want to check the options flow on Kellogg and see if people knew about this. Someone usually knows, dude. You would imagine someone would buy some nice in-the-money call options or even just buy the stock, quite frankly, right before this was announced. Where's Adobe, by the way? Adobe 373. Adobe year to date. This one also has been a little, 15%. So it's just been ugly, bro. Just they've not been able to show the market that there's something super, super exciting here to think about. Microsoft did get an outperform by Oppenheimer to 600. They said, we upgrade Microsoft to outperform from perform and establish a $600 price target. In our view, investors' attention on the ramp of Microsoft's AI revenue stream will only increase as Azure's growth remains strong. Remember last quarter, we got back to 35% growth, offering not only valuation support, but also upside potential as this revenue stream continues scaling fast and investors embrace Microsoft as one of the long-term AI winners in software. Furthermore, Microsoft is only one of a few vendors in the software industry capable of delivering a rule of 60 business profile at an unprecedented scale, which we think lends good support to premium multiples. So you got Microsoft right there in the 600 range. On top of that, there was a partnership with Uber announced as well today. Let me pull that up with the Olympics. So Uber's partnering with the Olympics for 2028. That's going to happen in Los Angeles, right? Yeah. Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. The partnership will see Uber deploy its mobility platform to design, implement, and optimize rideshare operations across the Los Angeles area. Where, I mean, you don't see Robotaxi making a partnership for the Olympics in 2028, at least not yet. Right now, those cash flows are still coming to good old Uber. Yeah, Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. Wow. Where was the last Olympics? In 2024? It was in oh yeah, Paris. All right, it was Paris. Oh, that was last year. I forgot. That was last year. Okay. So now they're coming back to the United. Well, that's going to be big for the economy, for the US. That's definitely going to be big for California in a couple of years. Los Angeles. When's the last time the United States had an Olympics? When is the last time the US had Olympics here? 2002. If I'm not wrong. 2002. It's been a minute. Yeah, SoFi Stadium is probably going to be involved too. Oh, that's great for SoFi, dude. Like when the Olympics come to LA, I would imagine SoFi is going to have themselves there. 2002 was the Winter Olympics. 1996 Olympics was Atlanta. Wow, it's been a while, bro, since we came to the United States. Atlanta. It's been a minute. For those asking about the Misty dividend, I talked about it in the morning. Again, I would go to Seeking Alpha and look at Steve's article on Misty. It's a bit complicated to explain, but we talked about it in the morning around NAV erosion and like why there's a return of capital versus a general dividend. I would go down the rabbit hole if you're interested about it. I wouldn't just buy it for the dividend because you need to understand exactly how they're creating the like premiums through synthetic covered calls to distribute the quote unquote dividend, which is actually classified as a return of capital. But I own it. I have 500 shares and I'll probably be holding it for the next year. By the way, for everyone asking for Steve, dude, he's still pretty sick. I was talking to him today just by text message, not actually on the phone because he can't really talk, but he got a really weird throat infection and he's basically been home the past couple of days and yeah, he's barely been able to swallow, can barely talk. So hopefully he's a little bit better by Friday and we can get him on. I should ask him if it's bad milk. I should ask him. That'd be funny. He was excited about 4 trillion though. But then right after Nvidia hit 4 trillion, he sent me some stupid thing about Ripple because that's what he cares about. This is what he sent me about Ripple, bro. He always if he was actually buying Ripple, I would actually take it seriously, but he's not. He bought it when it was like 2 cents and so now he just loves pumping it. But like he doesn't actually care about Ripple. This is Brad Garlinghouse's 30-second clip that he sent me today. I'm watching it for the first time because I didn't watch it yet.
Speaking on behalf of the crypto industry, I urge you to prioritize the passage of market structure legislation for digital assets through this committee and the full Senate to provide the rules and regulations needed to ensure that the U.S. becomes the crypto capital of the world. Once market structure legislation for digital assets becomes law in the United States, this will catalyze a new era of U.S. competitiveness and unlock efficiencies in financial transactions.
He just loves this Brad Garlinghouse guy, and he wants Ripple to be the major cross-border payment system that the world uses. Which, with the use of stablecoins or with the rise of stablecoins, why do you exactly need a cross-border payment system? Isn't that the whole promise of stablecoins? So I don't know. I don't know exactly if that's the most exciting thing about XRP. So many of you guys like XRP. Dude, the chat is 50-50. Let me do a poll on that. How many of you think XRP is stupid? How many of you are long XRP? I feel like it'll be 50-50. Simple question. Do you believe in XRP? It's either yes or no. It's either going to be 50-50 or it's going to be 60-40 to the no's. I'm going to guess if it's no, it's going to be heavily biased towards no. If it's yes, then it'll be 50-50. Yeah, literally 60-40 no's. 60-40 no's already. I don't know, dude. That is not that exciting. Where's Visa and MasterCard? We haven't looked at these in a minute. Visa, that one's basically been flat for the past week. MasterCard also not been doing too much. Palantir right here, 142.42. That's up about 2%. Tessie, 295. S&P still moving after hours. Tesla not really caring about 50% tariffs on Brazil. I bought XRP because of Steve like in December, and then I sold it for like $200. I sold it a little early. What I think I sold it 230, which is where it's at right now, but then it ran up to 350. But yeah, I haven't bought back in ever since because I just, didn't care that much about it. But it is one of those things that he believes in a lot more. Look at ERJ and EWZ, two tickers that have operations in Brazil. Okay, ERJ, well, Embraer, yeah, oh, wow, down 11%. Okay, well, we looked at them when we didn't look at their ticker, but we looked at the actual Google search on them. And then EWJ, this one is more Japan. So, EWZ is what you said. EWZ. This is Brazil. That's down 4%. Yeah, I forgot. This is BlackRock's Brazil fund. I forgot iShares. So the Brazilian fund down 4%, and then Embraer, that one down about 11%. I didn't know you could buy that on the U.S. public markets. I thought that was only on the Brazilian public markets, but yeah, there you go. The Ethereum treasuries today, again, didn't have the most fun. BMNR down 40%, BTBT down 5%, and then SBET actually a little green towards the end of the day, but it is red from the pre-markets. Okay, I did not, first of all, okay, this is, I did not buy $200,000 of Apple. I responded, thank you for mentioning this, because now we can talk about this, because I forgot to mention this. There was a headline of freaking Apple bringing back the Vision Pro. And so here was the headline: Apple readying Vision Pro with new chip, more comfortable strap. Apple is planning lighter redesigned headset model for 2027. Okay, so I responded, cool. I'm buying 1,000 shares because, I didn't say I'm buying 1,000 shares. I just said new Vision Pro, I'm in. This is not a confirmation order. I could have put 500,000 shares on this. This is just like you can put whatever you want on any brokerage. but people are like, oh, you're buying Apple. Even one of my boys texted me. He's like, yo, you're buying Apple? I'm like, dude, it's a joke. Like, I'm not buying Apple. The only Apple I'm buying is in my freaking ETF from the stock draft. But outside of that, I'm not touching this thing. Dude, I really do not believe in these headsets at all. I so don't believe in it. I don't think it's real. I think it's full of shit. I don't think people are going to be walking around with smart glasses and looking at the world through a holographic lens. Just don't believe in it. If it does happen, then I think Apple's not going to be the winner. I think it would be Meta, but I don't think it's going to happen. Where's Webull? Webull actually made a little bit of a move after hours. You got something right here. 1324 was stuck at 1250 most of the day. So a little bit of move on Webull. There is a difference between using Apple devices and not believing in the product. So I love Apple. I'm going to be using it. I'm going to use it every day, probably for the rest of my life. I mean, I don't think I would ever switch off of Apple, but that doesn't mean I believe that their glasses are like the greatest idea in the world or the next S curve of growth. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Glasses or headsets. I don't see it. Some of you guys believe in glasses. I don't believe in it. I don't see it. Until they get glasses to be as light as they are, like the ones I'm wearing, which I think is a very hard technical challenge, and it's going to take time if it does happen. It's not happening anytime soon. And then, you got to ask yourself, do billions of people want to walk around with these smart glasses? Like, yes, a lot of people wear glasses to see, but the question becomes, do they want to wear glasses to talk to their glasses to tell them about the weather? Like, I just don't see that, bro. I don't see it. I just don't freaking see it. I think if they did like AI contacts, yeah, that one seems a little bit more realistic to me, but that's like, that technology must be, I would imagine, a couple of decades away to be able to have contacts that are so technologically advanced, right? Glasses, it's a bit easier. You can put it into like an actual physical product. I just don't think people would love using it. The glasses will be a thing one day, but they have to be legit. Yeah, that's been my critique for a while. They have to be legit, bro. They have like when they released the iPhone, even though the iPhone in 2007 is nowhere near the iPhone in 2025, everyone was like, "Holy crap! Like this is happening. It's a real thing." And that holy crap moment on a consumer product, we haven't had in a long time. Here's some of the coverage right here on the 50% tariffs on Brazil.
Megan Casella has a story for us. Hi, Megan.
Absolutely. Another letter has been posted on Truth Social. The president writing to the leader of Brazil saying that he's imposing a 50% tariff on all imports coming in from Brazil as soon as August 1st, unless the country strikes some sort of a deal before then. Now, this letter, guys, is a little bit different from any of the ones that we've seen so far. For one, Brazil was not previously supposed to face a reciprocal tariff, a country-specific tariff as of April. They only had the blanket 10% tariff. They weren't on the original list. Now that jumps to 50%. And at the end of the letter, the president also says that he's instructing his U.S. trade representative to launch a Section 301 investigation into all imports coming in from Brazil. That's a type of trade remedy. That means there might be harm due to Brazil's imports. That's what the investigation will be looking into. It's the same statute the president used in his first term to impose steep tariffs against China. So it's a longer process, but a little bit more legally rigorous, and those tariffs might be able to stay in place for longer. I will say for Brazil, they're in our top 20 trading partners, they're about 18th or so based on the latest data. About 1.3% of all U.S. imports come in from Brazil. So a 50% tariff would be steep for that. It's not the biggest trading partner, but one of the biggest that we've seen so far with all of these letters, guys.
Do we have any sense, at least yet, Megan, on how much that tariff and this idea of these Section 301 tariffs, which are tied to national security, might have to do with the growing relationship between Brazil and China, especially as this administration is looking to crack down and basically ring fence China, but crack down on transshipments?
It definitely could be part of it. All of these letters have actually included a clause on transshipments and saying that's one thing they do want to crack down on. A lot of this Brazil letter, which again, I'll emphasize is much different from any of the ones we've seen so far, which have all been sort of form letters. A lot of this is about the way that the president says that former Brazil president Bolsonaro has been treated. He says it's a witch hunt that should end immediately. And because of those domestic politics inside Brazil, he says that's a big reason why he's imposing this. So it's not so much a trade concern. It's not about the trade deficit or surplus or anything like that. It's more about those politics. It very well could be also the increasing relationship, as you say, with China as well.
All right. Fascinating. Megan Casella, thank you for bringing us the
August 1st, baby. We got to see. Does that deadline stick or not? We're going to find out. We're going to find out on August 1st. Bitcoin back to 111. We do have a little bit of movement right here. Was at 110.7. But that 112 came and went, bro. That was so quick. And then it was gone. Rom, thank you for the $10 super chat. Admit, who's your CNBC crush? The answer, the objective answer, we all know the answer. It's Morgan. It's Morgan, bro. Morgan is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. Morgan, it's Morgan. Now, Gabriella Santos, I love her as well, but dude, Morgan is gorgeous. You know she follows me on Twitter, bro. We gotta get her on the show one day, dude. Like for an interview, like just like to ask her what it's like to be a CNBC host. I feel like it'd be so cool. I want to interview a CNBC contributor on like what it's like to be on TV. Because there's got to be, I would imagine there's definitely some pressure being on live TV every day. But I think Morgan is just absolutely gorgeous. So there she is. By the way, I just texted Steve to see if he wanted to call in. He literally cannot talk. He's like, no, dude, I can't talk. So this guy's definitely. This is the longest. I haven't talked to Steve in 4 days, bro. This is the longest I haven't talked to him in a while. So you can tell he's definitely feeling some pain here. Can't ask her out, bro. She's married. I think she's pregnant too, or she was pregnant like a year ago. But she is gorgeous. Yeah, Josh Brown would be really cool to interview. I think that would be fun. And Josh Brown is Josh Brown is just like, Josh Brown doesn't care what anyone thinks. And he just has that type of personality, So it's fun to kind of see how he navigates stuff. And whether you agree or disagree with his takes, I think people enjoyed listening to him. which is the important part. Did Poet do an offering today? Really? Poet announced a non-brokered public offering of 5 million units at $5 each, raising 25 million. We haven't looked at this stock in a minute. Wow, it's up 18% today. This is a stock I know last year, ticker symbol U, started making some videos on. I've never really deep dived into them. Looks like the market liked it today. 18%. On July 7th. Okay, it was a couple days ago. So today the headline has to be different than the offering. Oh, Sarah Eisden would be awesome to talk to too. That would be so cool to talk to her. It's so wild, bro, when you see some of these people in person. Like someone you've seen on stage or on TV or like, you know, someone you look up to, like to actually meet them in person. It's wild because it's like they're still a human being, you know? Like when I met Karp in person, it was just kind of crazy. But at the end of the day, he's a human. He walks around, you know, he has to eat food. Like it's just these are these larger than life personalities. But it's like it's cool to see them in the flesh, and especially with the media when you see some of these figures every single day. You know, at the end of the day, there's like Tom Lee, right? That's the most recent example. Like he's like I've watched like years and years of him on TV, but in person, he's just Tom freaking Lee. He's like not that. There's nothing that different about him other than, you know, he's a great, humble, nice guy who likes to talk about the markets. So it is pretty cool to see them. That's how I felt when I got on stream with you on New Year's Eve. Oh yes, I love it. We will definitely do more fun streams like we did on New Year's. When I move out, we will definitely do more of those. I want to do more streams where it's like, you know, just like you could do anything, right? And you have fun. And maybe like a Friday night, a Saturday night. We'll probably talk markets too eventually in those streams as, you know, random questions about the markets come up, but we'll do more of those fun stuff as well. Is the thesis on Oscar broken? No, not at all, but I don't know enough about the ACA Act and the Big Beautiful Bill. I'm still reading through it. I think probably on Friday, I will give you guys like a full summary of like the top 10 things in the Big Beautiful Bill. But I haven't got to the healthcare part yet. I was looking at more of I told you guys yesterday, I was looking at the AI zoning laws and the like essentially lack of regulations versus regulations on how and when companies can build data centers. But I haven't looked that deep into healthcare. And that is the reason why Oscar got hit from 23 to 16. But it doesn't feel like it's like if you buy it at 16, I think you'll be okay 5 years from now. I don't know if it's going to go back to 23 anytime soon, right? It kind of had its 15 minutes of fame, and then the Big Beautiful Bill happened. By the way, it tanked right before the Big Beautiful Bill came into came into prominence of having a chance to actually get into law. And then it pumped because retail got excited in the midst of the fact that the Big Beautiful Bill was like, didn't go away. It just didn't have enough votes, but people knew it was going to happen. And then it got passed and then it tanked. So it's like Oscar knew the Big Beautiful Bill would be bad, but it still pumped. And then it came out, the bill, and then it fell because obviously the bill was not the best thing for Oscar. So it was kind of hilarious to see this thing like actually get momentum. But in the face of all that momentum, the inevitability of it was that the BBB was just not good for this company. So that's why I think that one's down at 16. No, I'm actually reading it. I'm not using AI. I'm like legit reading it, dude. There's a lot of anyone can read this. Just type in Big Beautiful Bill on Google and it'll pop up. It's a PDF on congress.gov. And it's a lot of shit. But obviously I'm not reading every single part, but I'm command F'ing like the keywords that I care about, like AI and data centers, semiconductors, etc. Like the Invest America stuff. I wanted to read like the actual wording of how they're going to give $1,000 to every kid who's born after December 31st, 2024. And I wanted to read like, what does it even sound like? And it's legit, bro. They're going to give $1,000 until 2029. So they have 5 years. It's basically going to cost them $5 billion. And my next question is, can Robinhood get a lot of these accounts? Because I would like to see if they can. Probably not going to get all of them, but if they get a decent chunk, that would be nice to see. Are we frozen right now? Oh no, we're good. We're good. Okay, we're back. Yeah, dude, it's 400. It's like 400 to 450 pages. It's ridiculous, bro. That's why you got to Command F for like the stuff you care about, because you can't read everything. What's the best prompt to make sure it reads every line? ChatGPT always using the lazy way. You know, you can ask ChatGPT for the best prompt to then prompt ChatGPT to read the Big Beautiful Bill. Like you can ask the AI to read to like give you the best way to ask itself how to do something. It's like the joke someone made yesterday, and it looks like his outfit asked ChatGPT how to dress him, which was hilarious. All right, I think that's it. We'll be back live again later at 11 p.m. or probably like 10:50. Elon's going to be showing off Grok. It'll probably be like an hour and a half stream based on how long the presentation is. The last one was really cool, dude, when they introduced Grok 3. Like, it was just really dope. And I was at the airport last time they introduced it, but I got access to it immediately. And it was just like, I was on the flight coming back from California, literally like using Grok the whole time. And it was a step change better than GPT-4. Now, 4 Mini and 4.0 have gotten a lot better. So this one's got some work to do, but it will be fun to see what they can do. Yeah, I mean, look, Grok over the past couple of days or past 24 hours has not been good. It's been saying some kind of wild stuff. They had to literally disable it on Twitter so that people can't ask it more stuff. But hopefully it'll be fixed. Elon did respond to all of that today in the morning in the most Elon of Elon ways. He said right here, let me pull this up. He said, yeah, this is what he said. He said, never a dull moment on this platform. This was his way of addressing that Grok had kind of went unhinged. Gene, thank you for the super chat, brother. If Tom Lee believes Tesla is a Da Vinci, using that same analogy, what or who do you guys think Palantir has the potential to become? It's a good question. I think Da Vinci was kind of like a metaphor by Tom Lee. You could replace that with Picasso and any, one-of-one type of artist. So the question really is Palantir have the ability to be a Da Vinci, right? Or does Palantir have the ability to be that kind of one-of-one brand that gets a massive premium, even if the numbers might not make sense for it to get that premium from a quantitative perspective, because the investors don't feel that the PE or the price of sales plays a role in actually figuring out how to value a company like Palantir. And I think, quite frankly, it's already happened. Like, Palantir is already trading at 100 times, not earnings, sales, which is obviously a bit aggressive. So, yeah, I mean, I think Palantir obviously has the potential to continue being on this journey, but the level of interest that the world, like, it's just one of those journeys that's not replicatable, right? The idea that at $6-7 that no one cares about this, and then throughout the course of 3 years, everyone cares about this, and now obviously the story's not been as exciting because the stock's not going crazy because it's done at 20x. So like people have made their money and now it's kind of becoming more of a trading stock. And until we get earnings, there's not like tons and tons and tons of catalysts like there were over the past couple of years. But to see that level of interest, you would have to say that there is some type of one-of-one Da Vinci, Mona Lisa, Picasso-esque persona to Palantir that has got the market to be so excited. And look, Robinhood's expensive too, but Robinhood does not have Palantir's multiple. What is Robinhood's price to sales? Let's look at Robinhood's price if it had Palantir's. Robinhood's price to sales is 25. Okay, Palantir's price to sales is 108. So if we were to give Robinhood a 108 multiple on what, 3 billion of revenue, that's called 300 billion. Yeah, basically it would be at Palantir's 300 billion, which means Robinhood right now would essentially 3.6x from 94. So we're looking at a $340 stock price on Robinhood if it had Palantir's multiple. And it has an aggressive multiple, but it doesn't have Palantir's multiple. I think people have seen the triple digits and they've been normalized so much to Palantir just being this $100 stock, they forget this is a $330 billion company that has a pretty aggressive multiple because the world sees them as a one-of-one company. And so I think Palantir kind of already has it. And I think if they keep up the growth, they will continue to keeping up that multiple. Nick, thank you for the 20 euros. Appreciate it. Thanks for always showing up for us. I'm grateful for you in this channel. Nick, thank you so much for being here every single day and for everyone being here. We got earnings coming up in about a week. We have earnings tomorrow, but next week is when earnings starts. So we will get back into earnings season. You know, the past couple of weeks, though, without earnings hasn't been dull. I mean, every single day we've had something crazy happen in the markets. Even my my grandpa was asking me the other day. He was like, "Oh, those are pounds again?" Okay, sorry, those are pounds. It looks like an E though. You can't tell me it doesn't look like an E, bro. I thought I got this right. What the hell does the euro look like again? Euro. I need to like have this printed so I can always see it every day. Yeah, you're right. It is a pound. Okay. It looks like an E. Tell me that doesn't look like an E. It looks like a freaking E. Anyway, thank you for the 20 pounds. What I was saying is like my grandpa was asking me, he's like, what do you talk about? And I was like, dude, there's just too much to talk about every day. There's too much. Yeah, there you go. That's what the E looks like. There's like every day there's like thousands of things to talk about. And my grandmother's like, so do you have a script? Do you like memorize something? I was like, no. you just talk. She's like, about what? It's like, it's just everything. It's like finance, tech, everything intersects when it comes to analyzing the markets, geopolitics, obviously. So Trump tweeting about tariffs, all of that stuff is implicated in the stock market, crypto. And so, there's kind of a lot to analyze every single day. Obviously, it's been a bull market as well for the past couple of years, which has made this fun. I mean, I don't think it would be as fun if it wasn't a bull market. But then again, the reason I think people are interested in content around finance is because there is so much momentum around the S curves that are happening in front of us: robotics, self-driving, AI, crypto, all this stuff. And as a result, the byproduct of that excitement is a bull market. Because you just wouldn't have that many people excited about investing if there wasn't something to be excited about. I mean, I put out this post on Twitter today, and I think this post it's very similar to what we talked about in the morning. But I'll link it right here if anyone wants to read it. If you're a fund manager who has $500 million and you went bearish on Liberation Day and you kept waiting, and you put that $500 million into money market funds, you're up 22 million. Well, not even 22 million, because you got to wait the full year to get the full 4%. But you would end the year at 22 million with a money market fund and 500 million. If you had even bought any of the core S&P 500 names after they rallied 20% from the bottom, let's say you don't get the exact bottom, but after a 20% rally, like most fund managers, if they're good at what they're doing, should probably wake up and say, okay, maybe I read this wrong. Let me start getting in. You would still be up 94% on Palantir, 58% on Nvidia, 27% on Meta, 185% on Hood, 18% on Microsoft, 14% on Tesla, and 9% on the S&P 500. If you had divided that 500 million evenly between those 7 names, that 500 million for your fund would be 788 million. You would be up 57% year to date. Your clients would be very happy. But if you didn't go down that route, your clients are probably wondering why the hell they're giving you their money. And it's obviously not easy when you're managing $500 million to just be like, oh, I'm going to buy 100 million of Palantir, 100 million of Nvidia. Like, obviously that's not easy. But also, although it's not easy, and we should give a lot of credit to the fund managers that are able to outperform and be able to beat the market and have the energy and the essentially courage to invest, it also should be kind of easy if you understand what's happening right now, which is this is the greatest technological revolution we've ever seen. I mean, it was pretty damn easy for retail to buy the dip. And I know, retail investors collectively are not the same as fund managers, but the point is, like, that's what you should be getting paid for, right? You should be getting paid for being able to deliver phenomenal return. I mean, like, most of you in the chat are up minimum of 30% year to date. Most fund managers are barely beating the S&P. And historically, they've barely beaten the S&P. This is why Buffett has that $1 million challenge, right? With managers, if you can beat the S&P 500 consistently for 500 years or for 20 years, he would give you $1 million. It's just hard. It's just really hard. So I think what comes with the pressure is the idea that when Nvidia gets to 95, you can't be an idiot. You have, if you're a professional manager of money, you have to take some risks. And the idea that you're like trying to play it safe, like, well, why are you managing that much money? Because a safe return is very easy for clients to get just by investing themselves. If it's a massive bull market, if obviously we're not in a massive bull market, then yes, being safe matters. But if it's a massive bull market, then you just look like an idiot, right? And it's like no one, the thing about investing that's so funny, no one cares if you're, what happens if the stock goes up or down. Meaning no one cares why you figured out Robinhood was a good buy at 7. They just care that you bought it at 7. And if you bought Robinhood at 100, and let's say Robinhood, like in 2021, and then Robinhood tanks to 7, they don't care why it tanked. They just call you an idiot for buying it at 100. It's kind of hilarious. It really is hilarious. Like you get all the credit and then people care about kind of how you made it happen. But the point is you got to make it happen. And then you get all the blame and no one really cares why you're wrong. They just care that you're wrong. But that's also the pressure that comes with being a public figure and making some of these picks. Nvidia is a $4 trillion market cap. The entire crypto market cap is $3.45 trillion. Wow. Yeah. I didn't even think of it like that. That is true. Bitcoin is about 2.1 out of that 3.45 trillion of market capitalization for crypto. Nvidia is number 1 across the board. Yeah, dude. I mean, like it's just one of those things. If you're managing this is why I don't think I would ever manage people's money, bro. It's just like, and I have a lot of respect for people that do, but if you do it, you're gonna have that pressure, and that pressure is intense, bro. To manage hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, and then in a bull market for freaking retail investors on YouTube and Twitter all day to be having triple-digit returns, and you're over here like barely beating the S&P, like it's gotta feel like shit, bro. Gotta be coming home every day from the office just being like, holy crap, dude. Like, how is this happening? It's a tough job. It's a very, 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 very tough job here. We don't have money market inflows yet. That's going to be tomorrow. Last week, yeah, we looked at this last week. Did we look at this? July 3rd? Yeah, we looked at this. Yeah. Wait, did we? Hold on. No, July 3rd was we didn't look at this. July 3rd was the day before July 4th. The market closed early. All right, I got it. Put in the chat. What do you think? Up or down? Up or down? What do you think on money market inflows? Up or down? We did not look at this last week. I forgot. Market closed early. It's actually a kind of big number. It's a drop in the bucket, but it's still a pretty damn big number, dude. It's easier to take risks with your own money. Exactly. Yes. It's very, I mean, when you're managing, actual money, it's just tougher. There's a lot more pressure there. Okay. I think it's 50-50 down, up. Folks, these fund managers are still pretty bearish. Increase by 55.56 billion to 7.08 trillion. I think that's an all-time high on money markets. I think that's an all-time high on money. I've never seen 7.08. They round up to 7.1. 7.1 trillion in money market funds. And the S&P 500 hit a new all-time high. Like the day that this was released on July 3rd. Like, I mean, come on, bro. Like, it's just like, eventually this money is coming back to the markets or crypto or real estate. It's coming somewhere, dude. If we look at money market funds on St. Louis Fred, if you've ever looked at these, the average money market assets historically, let me pull it in the past 10 years. Yeah, here you go. Have been about 3 trillion. In 2015, it was 3 trillion. It spiked up in 2020 because we had so much money printing, but it was 3 trillion. If we go back to 2000, let's go to 2007 to 2025. 2007, we were at 2.4 trillion. Then it spiked up to 3.8 after the Great Recession. And then Obama took rates down to basically zero. And since then, because you couldn't really get a return if your money was in the money market fund, it stayed at 3 trillion. Only recently has it ballooned to freaking 7 trillion. St. Louis Fred is saying 7.3 trillion. Because we're giving you 4% to do nothing. 4.5%. Eventually, I think that's going to change. We're either about to get hard rugged or we're about to enter the greatest bull market of all time. Yeah, I mean, look, you guys know my thoughts. I think it's going to be the greatest bull market of all time. I don't think there's going to be a hard rug. There will be some hiccups, but I think if earnings growth is there can't be a hard rug. By the way, 64% of you said you don't believe in XRP. So kind of what I thought. Let me do that poll in the chat. Do you think next 5 years, hard rug pull or greatest bull market ever? I mean, I just think if earnings continue, it's the greatest bull market ever. It's not even that complicated to me. The rug pull comes if all of this is fake. Nvidia's numbers are not fake. Palantir's growth is not fake. Now, you can say the valuation's aggressive, sure, but valuation is just a function of how market participants want to pay or not pay for an asset. But it doesn't mean it's fake. It doesn't mean it's not real. And I think a rug pull comes from something that's legit, not real, which is not what I think is kind of the defining narrative here right now. Oh, we got Dan Ives. Let's see what he has to say. He was questioned about the shut up Dan. So we know that tweet went a little viral yesterday. Let's see his response and his take right here on Tesla.
Knew Elon was not going to be happy. But the reality is, the board, they basically need to now step it up. And I think it's something where, I hear from shareholders around the world, right, on Tesla. And as one of the biggest supporters of Elon and Tesla, it was time to rip the Band-Aid off. You got to now put a new structure. And actually one of them, that we talked about in terms of the 3 things that we suggested is actually something Musk wants in terms of 25% voting rights. And what I view is will ultimately be an XAI merger potentially. But second, third, the political gambles and this sideshow, it can't continue.
Analysts seemed totally fine with Elon Musk. And correct me if I'm wrong, they seemed totally fine with him when he was getting along well with President Trump. And it seemed like the president's policies would favor his companies. Is that fair to say?
That's 100%. I mean, I view it as and we talked about it, the best that ever happened to Musk at that time was Trump getting into the White House. And obviously, you could argue Trump doesn't get into the White House if it's not for Musk. But like a lot of things, it took on a life of its own. Doge, BFFs, spending no time with Tesla, Mar-a-Lago, DC Doge, the brand issues. That ultimately is why then Musk had to take a step back and basically leave the Trump administration. But in your wildest nightmare, no one expected, hey, let's triple down, start a third political party, where now Trump actually becomes a foe, Republican Party becomes a foe. And that just becomes more of an overhang for Tesla.
So the board as it exists now, is this the board that you think can bring about the necessary changes and set the ground rules as you are calling for Tesla? And Jack Hartung, who has been CFO of of Chipotle, excuse me. Kimball Reeve Musk is on it. Jim Murdoch, of course, Elon, Robin Denholm, an Australian business executive, former accountant, chair of the Tesla board. So I'm just trying to think, is this the board that you think can execute the changes that need to be done?
Well, they don't have a choice. No, look, is this
What do you mean they don't have a choice?
Because they don't have a choice where sometimes boards, look, if you go back to history of Tesla, let Elon does what he do. You can never argue a bet against him. And that's been the MO, right? That's been the DNA. The problem is that essentially the clock strikes midnight when now it comes to these political ventures and endeavors, as well as the time spent at Tesla. The board, you're not going to have a major change or makeup in a board that would take many years. The board now, as a public company, needs to, new pay package, we talked about in 25% voting shares, but then establish the guardrails because it's a public company and shareholders are demanding, and the stock reflects changes that need to be made.
I disagree with this dude because yes, it's a public company and it represents shareholder interests, but It's also a public company that trades at one of the most aggressive multiples in the history of any public company that's ever been traded, because of that same guy that Dan wants to monitor in terms of how many hours he's clocking in and what political things he's allowed to tweet. I mean, think about this. Like, let's say Elon has to go do something for SpaceX and he has to like cancel a Tesla meeting and he has to log manually in some Excel sheet. I have to cancel my 5 o'clock meeting because I have to go do something for SpaceX. It's like, that would be insane, bro. It's freaking Elon Musk. I think he's earned the right to be able to, multitask, especially given he's proved he's able to do it. And again, to Tesla's credit, if you were in Tesla 7-8 years ago, you've done. I mean, some people they've retired, right? They did it. They 20x. They're done. If you got in Tesla over the past 5 years, yeah, it's been a rocky journey, but that doesn't mean Elon has not delivered shareholder value. He absolutely has. It just hasn't been, as recent as most people would want it to be. And to be fair, for those that were in Tesla in 2013, it also wasn't recent. You had to wait almost 10 years, or basically 8 years until it played out. But then it did. And no one kind of cared after that. Chris shared this photo. This is not a real photo, but this would be hilarious if it was real. When Dan Ives says, "We believe Apple needs to acquire Perplexity." Imagine Tim Cook said, "Shut up, Dan." That would be pretty funny. This is not a real photo, but it would be hilarious if it was. Yeah. Also, so much of what he does is connected to Tesla, like XAI. That is also facts. Your LinkedIn says you played JV basketball in high school. We don't believe you. Post a video of your jump shot. Dude, I'm slacking on LinkedIn. I made my return to LinkedIn 2 weeks ago. I haven't posted shit, bro. I posted like a couple things about Palantir, and then I just like stopped posting. Like it's just like, it feels like a job to try to post on LinkedIn, dude. It's like, it is so like, it's just not natural to post on LinkedIn. It's like they have not created a network environment that makes it feel like you can like post anything you care about, because it feels so corporate and professional. But I did play basketball in ninth grade, and I was starting JV point guard. I really do think I would have been the next LeBron James, but my genetics, particularly my height, didn't give me the what do you call it? The skill set to be in the NBA. Like, it wasn't me, it was my genetics. So, then I quit my junior year, and I quit my freshman year. I quit my sophomore year. It was so funny. I did debate my freshman year. Then I went to my debate coach and I quit the debate team. These were like the tough moments freshman. Like when you're a kid, you have to like have these tough conversations with like teachers and coaches and all this stuff. In reality, they're like, you're a kid. It doesn't even matter. But like, I was so stressed out about this like meeting with my debate coach, and I went up to him and I said, "I'm quitting the debate team." And he was like, "Why?" I was like, "I want to be in the NBA." And he said, "Okay." And then we have freshman year. Our team kind of sucked, to be honest. And then I came back my sophomore year. I was like, "Can I join the debate team again?" He's like, "Sure. What made you come back?" I was like, "Well, I realized I'm not getting that much taller." And so he's like, "All right." And then sophomore year, I sucked at debate. And then junior year is when I like actually started becoming competitive. But I love basketball. Dude, the new apartment I'm moving into, they have a full basketball court. And like, I really do think I'm going to be in that basketball court like 2 times a day, bro. Like, I freaking love basketball as a sport. And if there's a bunch of other people and we form a little group and we can kind of meet up every day and play. Because first of all, it's a great workout. And then second of all, it's fun. I've always enjoyed basketball. And I don't think I'm bad at basketball either. I just obviously like I spent a good 4 or 5 years practicing every single day. Like, I really did put the time in, but I just, I wasn't tall enough. Def wouldn't be a spelling bee champ. Dude, I did a spelling bee once. I think this was 4th grade. And I think I remember, if I'm not, let me check the word. I messed up on this word. All right, you guys are going to laugh about this. I've never told this story. It was 5th grade. I messed up on this word. Dude, I messed up on, are you guys ready for the word, bro? I messed up on this freaking word. You just triggered my memory, bro. Which is hilarious because the spelling bees, Like, I think an Indian kid has won the spelling bee for like the past 30 years or something. The Scripps National Spelling Bee, it's always some Indian kid who wins it. And I wasn't at Scripps or any of that national level, but we did one in the school. And if you won from the school, you would go to the local. Then if you local, you go to the state. Then from the state, you get apply to the federal. There was like this whole process. I lost in the first round because of calendar. I spelled it with a D-E-R instead of a D-A-R. That's what got me. This stupid word, bro. I can't even make this up. I can't make this up. Calendar. I thought it was D-E-R instead of D-A-R. This was the word that knocked me out. It was 5th grade, bro. You can't blame a 5th grader for getting that wrong. It was 5th grade. Like, I don't think I would get calendar wrong. Well, actually, I probably would get it wrong today, to be honest. I haven't really shown enough proof that I can spell as well. But yeah, this was the word, calendar. That's an easy mistake, right? That's an easy mistake. That's not like crazy. Like if I asked you to spell calendar right now, I don't know. I think there would be a decent amount of people that put an E instead of an A at the end. That was the word that got me. Dude, I'm remembering it like it was yesterday. It was 5th grade. We were in class. You had to do it in class, then you had to win it. You had to be top 3 in class to then go to the gym. The gym is where they had everyone come together. It was that same day. And then you had to go from the gym. You would go to the stadium and the audience. And then from the audience, you would get to the local level. Yeah, I was not able to get there. Can you spell scarce? Well, I know how to say it now. Instead of scarce. I thought it was scarce instead of scarce. Did anyone ever do a spelling bee before? Spencer says I was 2nd place in my school. I don't know. I always liked the concept of spelling bees, but I never took it seriously. I messed up on Nirvana. Okay, that one is way worse than calendar, bro. It's Nirvana. Well, did you do N-E-R instead of N-I-R? Nirvana is like, I feel like that's worse than calendar. Oh, if they asked me to spell ukulele, I would have absolutely messed that one up, dude. Ukulele, I would have. Dude, some of these words, to the credit of these kids in the spelling bees, they ask them these words, and these kids, bro, they come up with these answers. I mean, they have whatever structures in their mind that go off to figure out, is it a French, is it Latin, is it German, and they end up figuring it out, which is incredible. I was in 6th grade. Okay, I was in 5th grade too. So makes sense. I would not be able to smell Massachusetts, especially because I can't say it. But the hard rug pull will be China invading Taiwan in 2027, 2028. I can't say that couldn't happen. I just don't think it would because of China's economic issues. Like if they do that, they know they're officially destroying every single relationship they have with the West. And they would have no economic mobility. Now, it would hurt our economy dramatically as well. But it feels like that'd be, just the economic calamity that they would get into. And their economy already is not even that good. However, if you ask people in Taiwan, I mean, they've said many times it is not a question of if, it's a question of when. So they do believe that eventually that would happen. An app to trade that offers a stop loss would be Robinhood. I mean, there's a lot. Most trading apps have a stop loss feature, but Robinhood, Schwab, Fidelity, any of them would offer a stop loss. Dude, imagine the word was fettuccine. See, now I'm saying it right. I don't even like saying it like that, but now I'm saying it right. I definitely wouldn't have been able to spell it. Definitely wouldn't have been able to spell it. It will be the resurgence of inflation mid next year. I think that's a credible bear case. I think that's credible, especially if we actually go through with these tariffs. Like, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Here's what Kalshi says. Recession odds have dropped to the lowest level since January. 19% chance. So obviously you do have prediction markets saying, hey, we're feeling pretty damn bullish. Remember this one when this was like 55% back in April? Like when the tariff stuff was going down, like it was a greater than 50% chance that we would get a recession. And now it's less than 20. So you do have the broader market saying that they just don't think a recession is on the horizon. This headline as well from Credit Karma was a bit, I don't know, maybe scaring is the word. Scary is the word. Almost half of Gen Z has decided saving for the future is pointless per Credit Karma. Credit Karma is a platform that aggregates all your credit scores and your data, your debt, and you can kind of use their chatbot to ask questions about the debt you have and all that stuff. And they offer loans and this stuff. So they do a bunch of surveys. Gen Z and millennials are their target audience. I use Credit Karma. It like aggregates all the loans that I have. Half of Gen Z has decided saving for the future is pointless. This is, again, why I make a point of just congratulating everyone every day that we're investors. Because even if you're not Gen Z, which I'm like Gen Z by 1 year, I'm basically a millennial, most, or like a decent chunk of the youth thinks that saving for the future doesn't matter. And a lot of them have become nihilistic, right? Nihilism is the branch of philosophy that essentially means you've lost your meaning to life. Friedrich Nietzsche is the core philosopher that speaks about this. And, you know, many of them have just decided like living paycheck to paycheck is the way to go because there is no hope in the future, because they don't see the potential of a better future. And to me, that's where capitalism can become ruthless, when you don't see the potential of a better future. But when you're investing, you see the potential of a better future every day. Like Nvidia announces a new partnership. I don't care if you have 5 shares or 5,000 shares, your future is going to be better when your economic mobility on those 5 shares or 500 shares goes up. And when it goes down, you will have to deal with the fact that, okay, I have to deal with why this investment is not working out right now. But the potential, I think everything in humanity can come down to like the potential of something happening. That's what gives people purpose and hope. Like if there's no potential of waking up in the morning and making something of the day, then the day feels pointless. And then it's like, well, why am I even doing anything today? Like, why am I trying? Why am I doing this? And then you get to the point where you don't feel like trying. You don't feel like doing stuff. And you can get some dark thoughts when that stuff goes down. So the point of potential, I think, is so central to developing some level of like meaningful paradigm that allows you to live your life. And when you bring investments into the space, and you're following a Robinhood, a Palantir, an Nvidia, an AMD, a SoFi on their journey, your purpose, even if you're not working at those companies, is to make sure that those companies execute. And you keeping up with those companies in and of itself puts you into the 1% of the population on this entire planet that are more financially literate and that have a purpose with their financial literacy. And that really is special to me. That's not easy to achieve. Because again, most people are pointless, or most people feel that life is pointless because of the lack of economic mobility. And you see this right here. Like if you watch any Gen Z interviews or stuff, like there was this one guy who started interviewing a ton of New Yorkers on why they voted for Mamdani. And I don't have the exact video saved, but one guy was just like, well, I can't pay my rent, so why would I vote for Cuomo? And you can't even blame that guy. I mean, like that, he's lost all hope in the economy. He's lost all hope in capitalism. He doesn't know how he's going to pay his rent. Then you got Mamdani saying, hey, I'm going to freeze all the rents. I mean, yeah, you're going to get that guy to vote for you. He's voting for potential. He's voting for a better future. And I just think it's very, very special to remember that if you're an investor, no matter how big your portfolio is, you are in the process of growing. And the other thing that's very important, I feel like, in life is growth. Like you need growth. Like this entire economy runs on growth, GDP growth, earnings growth, momentum in the ability of our company, seed stage startups, they're supposed to grow at hypersonic speed. Like everything in life comes down to what is your purpose? And then do you have the growth that establishes that purpose? Because I can say my purpose is to become a singer and a musician, right? And then I have this amazing music. But then if I'm not growing my audience, if people aren't listening to my music, if I'm not getting more and more people, AKA growth, to listen to my content, so I could become some singer one day and tour the world, then like I'm not going to get to manifest my purpose. The cool thing about investing is your purpose could be like, okay, you believe in AI, and then you don't have to worry about the growth. You can just give Jensen the money, and he goes and figures it out. You can go give Vlad and Karp the money, and they go figure it out. I mean, it's literally the coolest thing ever, bro. You can be like, hey, I think the world's going to need a lot more people to be financially literate. I think Robinhood's democratizing finance. I'm going to buy 1,000 shares, and I'm going to see if Vlad can figure it out. And those shares could go up 3-4x if the company can really execute. And then you feel like you have a real purpose to like care about the company and the mission and all this stuff. And then you start getting, okay, I got this 3x. How do I get the next 3x? Right? Then you start feeling like you have this autonomy of like doing something with your life, even if you're not the CEO of Robinhood. And I think that's special. But a lot of people don't feel like that. And it results in nihilism. I will not start singing to you guys. Although, Gravity, great song. I mentioned it in the morning. Absolutely great song. You didn't grow. That's why you're not the next LeBron James. Exactly. I'm out of breath when you go on a rant. That's hilarious, bro. I mean, well, it's like but it's true, right? Like it's like I don't think what I'm saying is that controversial. It's just true. Like you need a purpose in life, and you need to feel like that purpose has the ability to grow. This is why most people quit at building a company or a startup or a brand. If it's not growing, you don't feel. And this is why, getting through the dog days of actually going from 0 to 1 so that you can go from 1 to 100 is way easier than going from 0 to 1. But the dog days of figuring out, like, how do I build a YouTube channel to go from 0 subscribers to 1,000 before I have a chance of going from 1,000 to 100,000? Those first 1,000 are pretty tough. You got to figure out, like, what do you do? How do you get it done? But once you get through that process and you see some of the growth and you feel like, okay, maybe I can make this bigger and bigger and bigger and keep going from there. Yeah, you're right. Part of the reason I quit on basketball is because I wasn't growing, literally, physically, and metaphorically. And so my skill set wouldn't grow if I didn't have the physical genetics to be able to grow. And then it would be pretty tough to succeed, right? Admit without the market being open is just one long rant. Yeah, I mean, dude, basically at the end of every market close is a rant. If we don't have earnings, we get through the lack of earnings, which is earnings is 4 times a year. So it's basically like earnings was 2 months a year. So it's basically 8 out of the 12 months per year are earnings. So for 4 months, those market closes, we end up going on rants. Even though Trump's probably tweeting something right now that we could analyze. Let's see. Because, Mr. Donnie T doesn't stop. All right, nothing since Brazil. Nothing since Brazil. I'm telling you, bro, when Trump isn't president anymore, I mean, I don't know if the market's going to be as exciting from a, like, breaking news perspective. Because, I mean, like if Kamala was president, would she be going live 3 times a day and tweeting some of this shit? No way in hell, bro. Any tweets would be some corporate tweets by her freaking press secretary. Like, it wouldn't be saying anything controversial. She wouldn't be yelling at J-Pow every day. Like, she wouldn't be going live. That's for damn sure. And there would be nothing to analyze. But Trump, I mean, like, love it or hate it, it's freaking every day he's making content. And all we can do is try to react to it, right, as investors. But it is every single day. Making your first million is difficult. Second million is much easier. Yeah. I mean, this is true for anything. Making your first 100,000 is tough, but the next one's way easier. It's just getting over that initial hump. JTB, thank you for the $5 super chat. The great thing about investing is we don't have to be super intelligent. We just need to learn to listen and identify who you are. Yeah. Dude, investing is not hard. Like, people think it's taboo when you talk about being an investor. It's like, it's not hard. You put money in something that you think can grow and that you believe in, and you're not going to get all of it right. But it's not like the information on how to figure out what you think could be a good investment is limited. There's more than enough information across the entire world, including this chat that's live every day that has tons and tons of ideas that have made people good money by mentioning certain tickers. All that information is public. But having the optimism to try to seek that information is the hard part. Yeah, investing isn't hard, but trading is hard. Agreed. Trading is very hard. And if you can do it, congratulations. But investing is just sitting back and letting time compound on a good idea. But that's why I also like option selling, right? Option selling is not, it's not necessarily trading. I mean, it is trading to an extent, but it's the most safest way I've seen of being able to work with derivatives to still derive income if you don't only want to invest, because investing is not for income. Investing is for long-term capital appreciation. And, there's a lot of different strategies that people can embrace. I've not looked into Futu. What is this ticker say? Is this another microcap Futu Holdings? No, $16 billion company engaged in the provision of digitalized financial services, offers securities brokerage and wealth management products. Is this an American company? I feel like, no, this is Japan, right? No, China. Oh, they own Moomoo? Moomoo's a brokerage, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I've never, China. Yeah, they're China. Yeah, I feel like I've heard the name, but I've never looked into these guys. I'll take a look. Does seem like it's China. Stock was up today. Stock was up about 8% today. Nvidia after hours, 163, Palantir, 142. Is there a Tesla headline right now? Is there something about Tesla? Let me see. Do we have anything on Tesla? China pays $557 million to build the country's largest battery for Tesla. In a major move that really shows how the tech and energy are becoming intertwined, Tesla has joined forces with China to become the country's biggest battery. $557 million. Tesla will set up a huge battery station in Shanghai, expected to be ready by 2027. Okay. I don't know if the market cares this much about it. Yeah, stock's pretty flat. I mean, that's a good deal. Don't think the market cares that much. Also, I'm curious, is that 557 all at once? Is it over many quarters? It's definitely not something that's going to create an earnings beat for Tesla in Q2. I do think, though, Q3 is going to be great for demand on the vehicles because of the tax credit going away. And then in Q4, what Tesla needs to do is put out the affordable vehicle. Like, first of all, it should have come out by June. Didn't come out. Surprise, surprise. Like, the timeline did not match out to what they guided for. But if it comes out in Q4 after the subsidy's gone, maybe that's the way they sustain some of the demand. But I think demand for Q3 is not going to be a problem. I think people are, if you've been on the fence for buying a Tesla, that 7,500 going away by September 30th, that probably gets you over the hump and gets you to buy it. Yitzy, thank you for the $10. Why wouldn't you do a debit spread on any stock you're bullish on top of shares already owned? Hence, you make like 5x more just that grab. So the reason is a lot of the other stocks I own have already rallied like a lot, right? Hood, Palantir, Nvidia, etc. Grab has not made its move. I would be up a lot more this year, dude. I've basically got 100 grand in Grab. I would be up so much more this year if that 100 grand was. I invested in Grab in January. If I put that 100 grand in Robinhood at 30 in January, Palantir at 70 in January, or Nvidia, let's say I didn't get the actual bottom, 120 in January, I would be up a lot more this year. So I'm really betting that Grab's going to make their move. Not like crazy, but by the end of the year, I think closer to 750 is not insane to ask. And my conviction on them is not, my conviction's been higher than it's ever been. It's just been boring because this is the part where you have to wait. And obviously it's annoying when you got other names that are running. But I do think it'll have its day. And I think they have just too much cash on the balance sheet at this point for the street to ignore it. And I think Q2 is going to crush. I think Q3, Q4 is where we're really going to see 50% EPS growth. And I think by the end of the year, 758 is not crazy. Also, retail will jump in once it pumps above 650. Retail's already getting excited. If you search Grab on Twitter, there's actually a really good community of people that are being formed that are putting DD about it every day. But you need the stock to move to get retail to be really excited. And I think around 650, that's when more people would come in. Would you really sell one Bitcoin to put into Grab? Yeah, dude. If Robinhood gave me a Bitcoin today of 100,000, I'd sell it and I'd buy 20,000 shares of Grab. Because I think Grab's $10 by 2027. I don't know if Bitcoin is 200. So that's more than a double. I don't know if Bitcoin's 200,000 by 2027. And look, if you believe in the crypto winter thesis, which I don't know if I fully agree in, but Roy, who's much more educated on Bitcoin than myself, he thinks that there's going to be a crypto winter by mid 2026 and Bitcoin's going to come crashing down. Now, again, I think there's an argument for why that's not going to happen because there's so much political legitimacy around the asset class. But let's say that does happen. I'd rather be owning shares of a company at that point. I really would. I don't think Bitcoin's an easy 250K. No one answered my question on what's the catalyst to get it to 250. No one answered my question from 2 days ago. Like, the government's not buying Bitcoin. The United States government is not buying Bitcoin. I feel very confident that Trump does not have the political capital or the literal money to buy Bitcoin. MicroStrategy can only buy so much. Retail's not that interested right now. And for retail to get interested again, you would need someone to buy a lot of it. So the price would have to spike to get retail to have FOMO. So what creates that spike? Deregulation has already happened, and it's going to keep happening, which is a good catalyst, but I don't think it's like, it's going to double catalyst. Institutions have been buying. It's not like institutions have not been allocating towards Bitcoin. They probably will be allocating more. But this is consistent with what Saylor said. Saylor says it should be less volatile as it becomes more institutionalized, which means those dramatic doubles in like a year, like in 2023 to 2024, basically 5x from 20 to 100. That's not that easy to happen over and over again. Yes, yes, there will be a halving. That could also, but okay, so then the question becomes, will the halving stop the inevitability of a crypto winter, which from my limited knowledge of the Bitcoin cycles, a crypto winter always happens. Just like a halving always happens. I think it's like 500 days after the halving, you end up getting a top, and then you have the crypto winter or whatever. So maybe the crypto winter is like 90K, which is not really a winter in my opinion, but that's definitely not this massive move to 250. So I don't know, but look, I'm bullish Bitcoin long-term. I agree. I believe in it. It makes sense. Like, I think it is going to be a hedge against insane money printing. I think long-term you do want to hold it. I just personally would love, I mean, dude, if I could take that 100 grand and buy 1,000 more shares of Palantir and sell calls against it and generate like a couple thousand every month on that. Like, I also like that strategy too. Versus just like staring at that 100,000 in Bitcoin. I think a lot of people agree with me as well. I think if you were to get a Bitcoin today from Robinhood, a lot of you would say you wouldn't sell, but I think a decent amount of you would say that's $100,000. I could put it somewhere else. A lot of leverage on Bitcoin with treasuries. If someone is buying it up debt and gets blown up, that is a hell of a point. Another point is that we forget Saylor is levered up the ass on Bitcoin. And if there's any level of bear market or crypto winter, it doesn't mean Saylor goes bad. It does mean that, there's going to be some issues given all that Bitcoin is centralized in one spot. And then again, this whole collateralize your mortgage with Bitcoin that the FHA introduced, I don't hate the idea, but I'm curious if it's going to work, especially in a down market if Bitcoin really gets hit. I mean, how many mortgages at that point potentially have some issues? I own options and shares for Grab, but the majority of my position is options because if Grab hits 10, I will 7x on the options. If it hits 10, I will like 2x or double basically on the shares because my average is at 450. But the options would, do a lot better. No, I'm not buying 100K of Grab anyway. But if Robinhood were to give me 100K in Bitcoin, I don't even know if I would throw it all into Grab. But my point is, like, I would want the cash, bro. I would want the freaking cash. I don't know if you have to hold it for a year, but I'd pay the taxes anyway. I wouldn't care, like, because I don't want to wait a year just to get access to the cap. So if I have to pay like 20% in taxes, whatever. Dude, I will say this. If we win the 100,000 Bitcoin, I'm giving away 5,000, like, as soon as we get it. If we get it, I am giving, we'll do 10 people $500 giveaways, and we will give it out. We will give away 5,000 of that 100,000. But we got to win it. We'll probably get 5,000 away next year anyway. And it's like a lot. I've been thinking of a lot of different giveaways and games. But we still have to play that stock market game. The stock draft was so cool. I've been brainstorming different ideas. And like when we move into the new apartment studio, I want to do like a bunch of different fun challenges and stuff. But if I do win the 100 grand, we got to give a little bit of a giveaway. Dude, 5,000 is a lot, bro. What do you mean 5,000? That's a lot of money. That's a free 100 grand. That's 5% of it we're giving away. What I think we could do though, if we get the 100K, which this might even be better than giving away 5K, put it into a public fund. And then that's which I've been thinking about doing for a long time. That's the chat portfolio. We could do that too. We could do a chat portfolio with that 100K. and then we could just trade it up or down to a bunch of other stuff. That's cheap. What, do we give away 50K? Why don't we just give away the whole 100K? Let's just let's do 100 people $1,000. Dude, I would love to do that one day. If I ever get like super rich, that would be so cool. If we could just like give $1,000 to 100 people in the chat. We got to get super rich though. We got to get like FU money. We're not there yet. We get FU money, then we could really do that. Dude, that's the thing. That's another reason. If I win, bro, I think some people are gonna say it's freaking rigged. They're gonna be like, oh, well, Vlad likes Amit and he knows that Amit's gonna talk about it, so he gave him the thing. But that's not. I mean, would have no way to know if that's true or not. I would imagine Vlad would never do something like that because like that's illegal, right? But that would, if I like, I feel like that would definitely happen. People would be like, oh, it's rigged. But it could be I deposited like $9,000 into Robin. I have 9,000 entries. That's like, there is sometimes the luck of the draw to do that. But no, dude, I would love to open up that public portfolio, and I think eventually we will do it. I've been looking at a lot of ideas. We just got to get this move out done. We got to get into the new studio. We got to figure out a lot of stuff. Going furniture shopping on Saturday. I was supposed to go last Saturday, but we got busy with the family, so we weren't able to go. So this Saturday we'll do it, and then we'll keep doing it. And then we'll, keep figuring out how to improve the content going into the rest of the year. Because I do have a lot of ideas, but we got to get the major thing done, which is moving out. And then we'll do some more stuff. 5 winners on Bitcoin. 5 winners. What is FU money? Okay, put it in the chat. What do you guys think is FU money? I think FU money. Okay, so I think $1 million is not rich. I think $5 million is rich and comfortable. I think $10 million is wealthy. I think 20 million is FU. 20 million is FU. $20 million to me is like, screw you. I don't need to care what you think about. They're announcing the winners July 21st. July 21st. I think 20 million is FU money. VVV money. Dude, VVV shared a screenshot with me today. He's up 20 million on a position. And he showed it to me today. Like, I'm literally looking at it right now. I will give you the exact number so you guys know I'm not bullshitting. $26,796,889.32. He texted it to me and Derek today in a group chat. It's just ridiculous, bro. Like, I'm saying 20 million is FU money, and I'm looking at a total gain right here of $26,796,889.32. It just gets stupid at some point, bro. It just gets legit stupid at some point. And, it's like money becomes a game at that point. Like, for him, 20 million is nothing. So I don't know. FU money for him is probably more than 20 million. But I think for any human being that has a level of economic success, I think 20 million anywhere in the world, and that's just in America, bro. 20 million in Thailand, yeah, you're definitely way past FU money. But in America, yeah, a lot of you guys 30 million, 15 million. I think it's definitely above 1 million. Dude, 1 million is not becoming what it was. Like, the idea of becoming a millionaire is still special, but I don't think it's like the thing that people are just striving to in and of itself, because the cost of living, it's not even about money. It's about like the inflation, right? Like $1 million is not what it was before. So I don't think it's 1. I don't think it's 5. I think 10. I think 5. You're comfortable, like you're really comfortable, especially based on if you live in New York, San Francisco, it might not be as comfortable. But 5, you're comfortable. 10, you should be able to live anywhere you want in the country and not really stress. 20 is like, okay, you lost half of it. You still got 10 million, right? So it's like, can't be that crazy. So VVV is actually hella cheap by only giving you $100 super chat daily. Yeah, dude, think about that. I'm looking at a position that's up $26 million right now, And $100 super chat, I'm very grateful for $100, right? Like $100 is still a lot of money, but it puts into perspective. Like he can afford to give out $100 a day if, you know, he's on the daily, he could be up 30, 40 million. Like it's just a different level of wealth, bro. The future's just opened. Is it freaking 6 p.m. already, bro? What have we been yapping about for like freaking 2 hours? Where are the futures? They're flat. Futures aren't even doing anything. They're flat. Dude, I'm going to be live again later anyway for the Grok thing. But yeah, there you go. Futures are open. It's wild though. But the thing is, again, this goes back to my point about this community being very special. Like the fact that we're even thinking that we have the potential to make $10, $20 million one day is because we believe that there is a future in which we are wealthier and more successful than we are in today, which means we believe in something, which is what, you know, most people don't have even a belief in that greater future. And then it creates a purpose, and the money is not the purpose, but the journey of potentially getting that money, which would be a byproduct of whatever journey you go on, whether it's starting a business or whatever, investing, whatever. That is the special part about life. And I just think that cannot be undermined in terms of how special it is, because most people don't have that purpose or don't care. Grok's at 11 p.m. So I think at 10:50 I'll be live. 10:50. Amit is a top tier yapper. You're a legend. I'm a top tier. Nothing stops this yap train. You know, one thing I will say is like, this is kind of like been the story of my life. When you find what you're good at, you double down on it. Right. And I think it's a universal piece of advice for anyone that wants to even think they have a chance of making exorbitant amounts of money one day. It's like, if you're good at something, you double down on it. You find out what you're good at. I sucked at basketball, didn't double down. Sucked at music, didn't double down. Debate was kind of decent, double down. And debate basically became the framework for communication, and communication is now what I do on a daily basis. So I think that is the precursor. There's a lot of different ways to be super successful, right? Like you could have a 9-to-5 job, but do real estate on the weekends, and you just grow a massive real estate portfolio, right? There's an infinite amount of ways to achieve financial freedom. And so when you see that stat from Credit Karma that says 50% of Gen Z doesn't even want to save for the future because they're not optimistic, it's like, dude, there are so many ways in this country, in this country in particular, in America, to succeed. But you got to double down on what you're good at. I think the number one thing I've learned over the past 10 years is if you suck at something, like, move on. I suck at day trading. I suck at chasing, as we've seen with Webull. Some of you guys are really good at it. So I don't even get worried. Like when I see a stock running, I'm like, okay, dude, I was never going to get it right in the first place. So I'm not even going to try. You move on from it. You just take it out of your brain of the idea that you could be successful at that if you know you're going to suck at it. Now, granted, I haven't really given day trading a really good shot, but I'm trying. But like the point is, I just don't think I'm going to be good at it. So I move on. If you suck at music, move on. Like, dude, if my kid sucks at playing the piano from a young age, because I'm going to put him in piano classes or her in piano classes, I want them to be the next Mozart. But if they suck, I'm going to tell them they suck, bro. It's like, yo, you suck. You got to move on. I'm good at procrastinating, double down. Yeah, put a stop loss on your life, bro. 100%. Put a stop loss on your life. If my kid sucks at piano, I'm be like, dude, we got other things we could, like, you don't like. If I don't see any potential of them, I'm kidding about being the next Mozart, but like actually improve. Like I tried doing music. I can't even explain how bad I am at reading sheet music. Does anyone here know how to read sheet music? For those that don't know what sheet music looks like, it's this shit. This shit is a different language, bro. I remember trying to learn this stuff back in like 2010, 2012, when I was getting into music. And I was like, what is this, bro? Like, I suck at like E flat, B minor. I was like, what is this, dude? Like, it was a different language to me. Same thing with coding. Python, Java, like I just sucked at it. The one thing that I realized I was slightly decent at, which gave me the potential to be very good at over the long term, is communication. And ironically, a lot of people kind of are afraid of public speaking. They're afraid of putting their words and ideas out there. They don't have the intrinsic motivation to try to entertain a crowd, which is in debate. Like you have a judge, right? You're trying to entertain that judge and trying to get them to vote for you. That I had kind of naturally. And so when I recognized that, call it junior year of high school, I was like, all right, I'm doubling down. Getting rid of music, getting rid of coding. My mom put me in a coding. I remember, dude, the day I graduated 8th grade, it was the most Indian thing your mom could do, bro. We finished graduation and then she took me to a coding class because it was the summer and it was this like 8-week freaking coding seminar in some like local community college. And I just like, and you know, she was trying to like expose me to like software engineering and all that shit because she could tell by 8th grade. I was like, I didn't give a shit about that stuff, but it was the most Asian thing you could do. And then I'm there and I'm like, I hate this, dude. I absolutely hate this. Like, I hate it. I'm just not into it, dude. I'm not into it. And like, I think there is skill in being able to be self-aware of yourself. Because someone could say, oh, well, admit you just didn't try hard enough in music. You didn't try hard enough with software engineering. And you're probably right. But it is a skill to recognize, I don't even want to try hard at this. And so like, I'm and being able to recognize immediately, I don't want to try at this. Sometimes that comes from stubbornness and lack of ambition, but other times that comes from, dude, I'm just not getting it. And if I'm not getting it, it's time to move on. And then you have to experiment. And thankfully I found something that I really did care about. But I think the most successful people I know, like Derek, dude, Derek is dyslexic. Derek is not like some Harvard Ivy League. Derek dropped out of high school and he's a billionaire. So it's like Vlad is an immigrant who came to this country with nothing. So it's like in terms of Robinhood CEO, right, from Bulgaria, right? They didn't have anything, but they believed in themselves, and they found what they were good at, you know, and they were able to become successful. My girlfriend just said, "What have you been listening to for the past 2 hours?" Dude, it's got to be hilarious when some of your loved ones watch it, or like come into your room or whatever, or they like just overhear the stream. I'm like, who the hell are they? What is he listening to? Like some seminars? Is market? Is close? What like is talking about the stock market? Like what is going on? But this is what we do on the market close. At the end of the day, it's connected to investing, right? The reason we got to this topic is because investors uniquely believe in the future, they believe in a purpose, and they're willing to allocate capital and take the risk of allocating capital because they see that greater vision. And if you don't believe in that future, you don't believe in that potential world that is way better than the current world, then you're going to be nihilistic, and nihilism is a very scary mentality to get into. Bro, my dad bought me math textbooks. Dude, my mom did the same. Like they tried to like get me into STEM. I've just never been a STEM type of guy, bro. I've never been a math guy. It's weird, bro. The only math I know is profit and loss. You know what I'm talking about? About all the like freaking calculus and freaking the slope formula. What is it? Y equals mx plus b, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, Pythagorean's theorem or whatever. Like, dude, none of that stuff was natural to me. And my mom is a math teacher, so you can tell how embarrassing it was for me when I was younger. Like, math was never natural to me, ever. And that's why I think STEM was never exciting for me. And so, you know, creativity and communication is what really excited me for whatever reason. And, you know, that's how I got here. But the point is, believing in that future, believing in that ability for you to achieve that future, that is the prerequisite step to then investing to not end up in a nihilistic, self-fulfilling prophecy. And doubling down on the skills you're good at, which, dude, maybe you don't have any amazing skills you're good at, but you're good at just like researching companies and then investing, right? Like maybe it doesn't have to be some extravagant skill that you're good at, but you might be good at just like reading an income statement for a company, a balance sheet, and deciding if this is a company worth investing in. You can develop that skill over time. That's it. Like, that's the thing I love about debate. Debate is not natural. For some people, it's natural to like talk because they're just like naturally energetic, but anyone can learn debate. You can take debate classes and learn. Now, some people might not just have the same passion for it as other people. Same thing with software engineering. You might not be passionate about it, but anyone can learn it. It's not like it's impossible for me to become a coder. I just personally didn't love it, so I moved on. But anyone can, and if you do, then I think that's where you double down on your strengths. Debate is manipulation. There are some levels of manipulation in debate. That is fair. But I think it goes into a lot of deeper elements of communication. Silly Bunt, this comment is hilarious. Shout out to Silly Bunt. He was at the Toronto meetup. He's a very tall man. He was like, hello, I'm Silly Bunt. I was like, you're a Silly Bunt? That's what it's going to be like in Miami, bro. There's going to be some of you guys are going to walk up like just around the bend is going to walk up and be like, hey, I'm just around the bend. And it's some random guy wearing a leather jacket. And I'll be like, oh, just around the bend from the chat. The funniest one was General Weenus. I don't know if he's here at the New York meetup. He's like, hello, I'm General Weenus. And I was like, you know, you look like a General Weenus. Like this tall dude. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Math is also used in business, not only STEM. Yes, that's correct. But like super advanced, like linear algebra and shit, you know, that's more into the STEM side. But like the most basic levels of math I can also do as well. But like I got a C in a C plus or C minus, or maybe it was a flat C, but I definitely didn't get a B. I don't know the exact score, but it was in the C range. Freshman year of college in calculus, and I took calculus my senior year of high school, and I don't know what I got in high school, but it's just like you would think calculus is super basic. You should be able to get like an A, but I sucked at it. C sharp. I wasn't passionate about it, and I wasn't good at math. And so I moved on. That's it. I moved on. I'm driving my mom, and she said, damn, who is this? He can talk. Shout out to John's mom. Thank you for putting up with listening to me while we're in the car. New York meetup's probably going to be in November. We'll do another New York meetup in November. We already did it in January, but we'll do another one in November. My point is just like, it is very dangerous when your brain falls into nihilism. Nihilism is, again, for those that haven't looked up what nihilism is, it's or haven't read about it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have. It's a very common philosophical school of thought, but it is the idea that life does not matter. And Friedrich Nietzsche came to this conclusion back in the 1800s. And essentially his argument was that technology was going to take over the world. People were going to lose faith in a greater being. And as a result, there would be chaos because they would not have any moral structure that would keep them grounded. That's why when people are so, when people are so dismissive of religion, I think it's the dumbest thing ever, because like you could be an atheist and not believe that there is a God, right? You could have those beliefs. But the idea that you think the world would be better without religion, whatever religion it is, and there's tons of nuances into the different religions and which one's better for whatever reason, but that's not my point. My point is religion is a moral framework that people follow, whether it's Christianity or Hinduism or Islam or Judaism. And as a result, like having a moral framework to me is better than not having a moral framework. Now, I'm not saying atheists can't be moral, obviously. Like there's plenty of natural ways for someone who doesn't believe in religion to be a good person. But for the far majority of the world, bro, you take away their religion, you take away their faith, their structure of belief, all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. And so I do think that like even from a spiritual perspective, it is important to have some level of belief that keeps you grounded and structured, especially when we're talking about 8 billion people, right? And so that comes back down to investing. When you have a belief that there is a greater future, when you have a belief that there is a greater potential for an Nvidia to be worth 5 trillion one day, you start looking into the scripture of Nvidia, which is their earnings, and like, how do they put out their numbers and how are they growing? And Jensen is the leader of the religion that is Nvidia. You start learning about Jensen, right? It gives you a purpose is what I'm trying to say. And that keeps you rooted in actually caring about investing. That was a nice way to bring it together, wasn't it? You thought I wasn't going anywhere with that one. You can't even deny. That was a nice way to bring it together, dude. I do this, bro. I yap. I do this. I freaking do this, bro. I can connect anything. I can connect any idea back to a point. Even if it sounds like for the first 5 minutes there is no point, I will find a way to give it a point. I mean, I don't need to have a pencil to have a point. I do not. Yeah, God to Nvidia, bro. How poetic. God to Nvidia as the segue. The day that Nvidia hits 4 trillion, bro. Welcome to the cult of Amit. There you go. Amit did the Trump weave. Dude, Trump is also really good at doing this. He'll go on a rant and then he'll just find like one sentence to bring it back. But it's still like, you know, super ranty when he does this stuff. This all started because Gen D does it. See, but this is my point. This is how you know that you have a passion for something. For those that just joined, this was the quote, or this was the stat that came out by Credit Karma today that I think caused the last like 57 minutes of content. It was this thing. Like if you actually scroll back 57 minutes ago and see when we introduced this topic and then see where it went, this is what I mean, bro. This is yaptastic. This is what you do. You connect ideas, bring them together, and then discuss. I actually love investing in companies that I think are really positive for the world. I don't invest in stuff that I don't think is good for the world. Yeah, and also that, you know, that keeps you passionate about investing in those companies and following up. Like I know so many people that don't invest in Meta because they just hate what Meta stands for. And I mean, I philosophically disagree with like being antithetical to Meta and being sort of like antagonistic that Meta is the worst company in the world. But I get it. Like a lot of people don't like Zucks. A lot of people don't like Elon. They don't invest in Tesla. We're like, I get it. A lot of people fundamentally don't believe Palantir is an ethical company. I mean, that's out there as well. So, I mean, you're going to have people. A lot of people hate Hood. They think it's a gambling app and stuff. Like, but if you do feel passionate for a company and invest in it, you know, it just makes you care more about following it. Like, I think I told you guys that story before. Is this company even still public? Beyond Meat? I was talking to someone before and they were like, oh, I want to invest in the environment and like, I want to do ethical investing. I was like, okay, so invest in Tesla, clean energy, no gas. And they're like, no, I don't like Elon. He's racist. Beyond Meat is what I'm going to invest in. And I was like, are you serious? They're like, yeah, like Elon's racist, but like Beyond Meat, it's like saving the animals. And I was like, okay, I hope that investment works out. But ultimately, there has to be some level of purpose to making the investments. Amit, how can you talk that much? I don't even know the answer to this. All I know is that I feel like yapping is now become a part of me after what? When did I start debate? I started debate 2010. So what's 15 years? It's been about 15 years, bro. This has been my life, just talking. I don't know. I enjoy the process of communicating. I really do. And, you know, there just so happens to be an audience now that we built that we get to communicate with every day and brainstorm ideas. And then in the stock market, you just have so many things to talk about. It's kind of like, dude, if I didn't end the streams, they would go literally all day because there's just unlimited things to talk about and connect them to new ideas. And if you've actually been talking for many, many years and have the stamina to keep going, then it just, you know, becomes something that you can do all day. ASTS, I'm waiting for below 30 or below 40. No, yeah, below 30 to 32 is my price target on that. So I will wait until we get there. All I know is yen for a mid-market open, market close. Yen was our word of the day, which means desire or crave, which is also similar to Japanese yen. But yeah, that is a good use of the word of the day. The spreadsheet, yeah, let me pull the spreadsheet up and we'll look at the ETF challenge. Right now, Matt and Tanner are absolutely destroying all of us. Dude, I'm going to need Tesla, Palantir, and Hood to really lift up this portfolio. Because freaking Duolingo and Visa wrecked it. Absolutely wrecked it. So Matt's up 12%. His biggest winner is Rocket Lab. His biggest loser is Dutch Bros, which is barely even a loser. Tanner's biggest winner is Coinbase. His biggest loser is AppLovin, which again, barely a loser. Steve's biggest winner is Broadcom. Biggest loser is Hims, which his portfolio is still doing pretty well, given Hims took a drawdown. My biggest loser is freaking Duolingo. Tesla's down 10%, so that's not helping. My biggest winner is Robinhood. And then Chris's biggest loser is Novo and Elf. His biggest winner is Cisco and Oracle. So that's what we got in the ETFs. It's Matt, Tanner, Steve, Amit, Chris. For now. That's what we got. Past my bedtime in the UK. Wait, what time is it in the UK? It's like 2 a.m. No, it's 11:30. Okay. Yeah, Nick, thank you for being here. Thank you to my UK folks for being here on the market close. We will see you on the market open. 4 trillion. 4 trillion today. Maybe nihilism isn't so wrong. Not so hard to imagine AI Mitt with access to social media. Doesn't need to eat or sleep. I think nihilism is not wrong per se. Like there's nothing wrong about it as a theory. In fact, it's it's been quite right historically if you've used it as a analytical tool to like frame human history. But it is a very dangerous mindset to enter. I mean, and nihilism is the precursor to me to depression. And then depression obviously can lead to a lot of different things. So one of the ways to not become nihilistic is to have a purpose. One of the things they teach you when you deal with depression in therapy is like you have to have some purpose you look forward to get you out of that state of mind. So yeah, nihilism is not wrong as a political theory. I just think it's I think the most nihilistic I was in life. I mean, put in the chat. When were you the most nihilistic about life? I think the most nihilistic I was about life was like towards the middle of college when I was really confused about just like what I'm doing in life. And, you start to feel like you have no purpose. You start to feel, I mean, this was the point where my mom wanted to get me a dog because she thought I was like so depressed. I don't think I was depressed, but my mom was like, my mom hates dogs, by the way. She had a dream she had a dream that a dog and a cat chased her when she was in India. And ever since she's been like traumatized by dogs and cat, like even if she sees one on the street, she'll get like super scared. She was willing to get me a dog because of how nihilistic she thought it was. I was like, Mom, first of all, I don't want to take care of this dog. Second of all, even if you do get a dog, that's not going to help me. Like, I feel like we got some other issues. I actually had a friend who was legit like clinically depressed back in 2021. And her brother got her a dog. And the dog, she ended up returning the dog like a month later because like it didn't really help. And the dog obviously was a lot of responsibility. Graduating college when all my friends had jobs lined up. Yeah, dude, a lot of my friends had jobs. I was going the entrepreneurial route. I mean, like when you kind of feel lost and everyone else is doing something that you think you should be doing, that can definitely lead to nihilism. COVID, I could imagine. COVID is when I started also getting interested in investing. But I don't know if I ever told you guys, I got COVID. My mom got COVID. My dad got COVID all within the span of 2 weeks. My sister didn't get COVID, but my mom, when she got COVID, I don't think I ever told you guys. My mom was actually on the ventilators back in 2020. Like there was the thought. We were without her for like 4 or 5 days because she was in the hospital. That like something could happen, So like that was a tough time for us as well. But thankfully we got through that. And then I started to get more into like investing and what do I want to do with my life and all that stuff. But yeah, COVID, I could imagine just like everyone staying at home. That can make you not. I mean, dude, if the markets fall, that'll make some people nihilistic, bro. These markets take a little bit of a 10-15% pullback. That would not be the best. I'm nihilistic every time Trump tweets a tariff. That's also fair. 6 months unemployment so far made it tough, but still resilient and fighting for building my future. Well, see, even that mindset, right? Like even if you're unemployed right now, even having the mindset that you're going to fight for your future, it is the precursor to fighting for a future. It is the precursor to feeling accountable enough to think that you can change the trajectory of your life, even if your life is not going in the direction you want to be. And that is the scary part about nihilism. Like when shit's not going the right way, you got fired, your girl cheated on you, like life just sucks. Like that's the moment where nihilism creeps in, because then it takes away all the potential optimism that one should have about life, because it's freaking life, right? Like there's things to be excited about in the future. When all that excitement is drowned out, then you start getting the dark thoughts. And just even having the mindset to be like, no, screw this. I'm going to figure shit out. That is what's necessary to get through life. And quite frankly, it's the only thing that allows most people to get through a horrible time in their lives. Speaking of nihilism, we got a tweet by Trump. Sri Lanka, folks. Sri Lanka, 30%. 30% from Sri Lanka, or to Sri Lanka. Do the futures care? S&P doesn't really care. Futures don't really care either. Sri Lanka, 30%. So Brazil, we had 50% a couple of hours ago. And Sri Lanka, 30%. Ben says, every time I feel like you're about to say goodbye to us, you read another comment. See, well, this is your fault. Why I'm live as much as I am. Every time I'm ready to leave, someone puts a question, and that question leads me to talk for like, another hour. Amit, I tell you what was funny when Liberation Day happened and we were dumping your expressions reading the Trump news was absolutely hilarious. I could see how upset you were. Dude, I need to find the Liberation Day tariffs and like and the market open from that day, and we need to clip it. I want to see how I was on that market open. Cuz all I remember is it was just disgusting. And yeah, I probably was upset and I was angry and I was like, why is he doing this, bro? It was down hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was like, this is just like, this was supposed to be a bull market. Like, what happened to the bull? But in the face of all, I remember, you guys probably remember me saying this. I said this many times. As emotional as I'm acting, I'm not going to be selling. And I didn't. The only thing I sold during that bull market, during that tariff drama, was Robinhood. I had to sell some shares for taxes. But outside of that, I was fully invested, which is why the drawdown hurt so much, because you're fully invested, right? You don't you're just seeing everything collapse. But I was emotional because it was just like, dude, it's like craziness. And again, I think everyone had a right to be emotional because it was so insane what he did that even Trump realized, okay, I got to pivot. And then he delayed the Liberation Day tariffs. And then the S&P 500, do we remember? It went up 10% in 2 hours. Not Tesla, not Nvidia, not Palantir, not some meme stock. The market, the aggregate of the most 500 important companies on the planet went up 10%. You're lucky if you get 8% a year on aggregate. It went up 10% in 2 hours. Like, I think even Trump realized it got so bad. And the worst thing during that time was bond yields were spiking. So even if the market was crashing and you could say, oh, well, people are going to go to bonds for safety, they weren't doing that. They were selling bonds as well. So you had market crashing, you had bond yields going up, and I think Trump at that point had to realize, all right, I got to do something. And that's when you had the first taco of 2025. But I got to pull up those streams, bro. I want to see, because I haven't looked at those in like months. I got to find those streams and I want to compile what it was like, because I would imagine it must have just been crazy for all of us, just like experiencing that together. And now we get to experience Nvidia going to 4 trillion together. Tess, thank you for the £5. This is pounds, I tell you. I would have said euros, so I appreciate that. I appreciate the clarification on pounds. Ginka, thank you for the $5 super chat. Can you explain your GRAP thesis? I will link it right here in the chat. I wrote up a pretty long document on it, so I'll link the Google Doc right here. And you can click on this in the chat if you want to read up some more. Bear market vibes. Thanks for the $5 for taking the loneliness out of investing. Appreciate you. Appreciate you being here. I mean, I think this also gives us a little bit more of a purpose, right? Everyone being together. That's also the fun part of investing as a community. We get to do it together. We get to do it together. Where were you on April 9th? Yeah, that's the question. Where were you on April 9th? Dude, and at the same time, Williams-Sonoma got into the S&P. Like at the same time where the market was crashing, they freaking gave Williams-Sonoma the nod. I did rewatch that stream because I wanted to see what everything was like before the Robinhood S&P stream like a month ago. We never did get any S&P stream because there was no S&P inclusion for Robinhood in, what was that, early June. But I rewatched it. That's how I got the 5:15 time, because I literally like looked at the time when Williams-Sonoma got in, and it was 5:15. So I was like, all right, 5:15 is when they do it. And they just never did it. I used to work for Williams-Sonoma Corporate. I saw one the other day. I was walking through a mall, and I was like, these guys, bro, freaking this company, Coffee Machines, is in the S&P 500. Like, it's insane. Absolutely insane. Saranj, thank you for becoming a channel member. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but thank you for being here. And thank you for becoming a channel member. And Christian, thank you for the £2. I got that right because of Tess. Thank you for the £2. All right. Do we end the stream? Are we done? Are we done for the day? Are we done yapping? We're going to be back again in like 4 hours for Grok. What's the farthest you've had to roll a covered call position? Probably like a year and a half out. Like I have some covered calls I've had to roll to like Jan 2027. Probably like a year and a half out. 10 more minutes, dude. This has been going on. This is like 3 hours at this point. I'm going to be back anyway. Futures are unchanged. Nothing kind of happening after hours. The Grok stuff, I mean, like I'm hoping I get access to it tonight so we can start playing with it. But hopefully we get some good stats on Nvidia and we get to see Elon show off some cool stuff as well. I cannot call Steve. I just texted him and he said he still can't talk. Look at this, bro. I'm going to literally show you our text, right? At 5:07, I called. Look at this. You guys see this? Still can't talk. What's up? And then the next link is XRP. I'm telling you, all he does is send these XRP links. That's what he does. Like, this is what this guy does, bro. He's obsessed with XRP. You would think he's like full port XRP. It's like less than probably 0.5% of his overall net worth is in XRP. And he just loves doing DD about it. He just loves it. So yeah, hopefully he gets better by Friday, and we'll be able to talk to him as well. Eggs and tacos. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Please end the stream now. I looked off 2 hours ago when you said bye. Did I say bye 2 hours ago? I didn't really mean it. Every time I say bye, you have to remember I don't mean it until like you see the stream end at this point. Dude, see, someone called Eggs and Tacos is going to be at the Miami meetup. And he's going to say, hey, I'm Eggs and Tacos. Like that's the funniest part of the meetups, when you just see someone say who they are. And it's just this random name. This is the Miami forum again for anyone who wants to join. I will give you more details on it. Hopefully in a couple days. I mean, the place should get back to me. But if we do end up booking the spot, I think it should be a really, really fun meetup. And yeah, then we'll be set probably for August 24th. And then we'll be good to go. And we'll keep doing it. See, it's like I'm ready to leave, right? I am ready to leave. And then Steven, I love that name, Steve, I'm a fan of that name, asks a question. And so now I either don't answer the question and I leave, or I answer the question. And it's like, it's a decent question. So like, what am I, as a professional yapper, what do you want me to do? Like, if you're going to give me the crack, I'm if you're going to like, I don't know what to tell you guys. So I'm going to answer the question. Are you at all sad to move out of your childhood home? It's a great question. It's a good question. First of all, this is my childhood home. So my childhood home is actually in a different part of Jersey. This we moved into 5 years ago. But it does feel like I've been ingratiated in this neighborhood for a long time. I'm not sad. I think like, am I going to be sad I don't get to see my parents every single day? Sure. But at some point you have to move on in life as well. And this is the most comfortable move out financially that I could ever imagine for myself, just given what's happened over the past couple of years. So the anxiety is not really moving out. The anxiety is more so just like embracing the next chapter of life. But this goes back to the nihilism point, right? Like part of escaping nihilism is always having something to look forward to, and moving out, being on my own, starting whatever new ventures I engage in as I have my own studio, all that stuff like that. That is something to look forward to. It's something to embrace. It's a challenge. I think one thing everyone forgets about is like, you need to have a challenge in life. Like sometimes shit gets too easy and like, you need to like feel the pressure of trying something difficult, because if you're not, you know, you're never going to embrace like having a real growth mindset. And moving out is part of the path of getting there. So yeah, I'm not really sad about it. I'm excited, more so excited than sad. But I think that's the healthiest mindset to have when you are embracing something new. My friend just said yes to Miami meetup, and now I feel compromised. All right, dude, you and your friend have to come through. That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. It should be fun. It should be. Again, this place is really good, guy. I mean, like, I can't even sugarcoat it. This place is like, it's like, because of the community and the connections, it's like, it's one of those places I would never have access to without you guys. And I think we might have it. So should be a cool time. Someone come up with another good question. Oh my gosh. All right. I think I should be done. I think I'm done now. I think I should leave. I'll be back. See, Tess is going to send a super chat. Like, what am I supposed to do? How are we? At Rutgers, you did a Bender project. What's that about? Was it your first entry into gayhood? I don't even know what this means, bro. A Bender project? Is that some gay lingo or something? What are you talking about? Bender project? What are you talking about? I don't even know how to respond to this, bro. What is a Bender project? I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what this means. It's a good attempt, though. It's a good attempt at a question. What Squid Game character would you be? None of them, bro, because that show was disgusting. Well, season 3 was disgusting. My disdain for season 3 and how badly they ended it is clouding my judgment over the whole show. Like, if you were going to end it like that, just don't even do another season, bro. Just make it a classic as a one-season show. Otherwise, why would you do it again? It sucked, bro. It was so bad. It was so freaking bad. It's on my LinkedIn. A Bender project? What's a Bender project? Dude, it must have been like freshman year. I don't even know what a Bender. I think what you're talking about is this like business case study we had to do. Maybe it was called a Bender project. In freshman year, we were consulting in the consulting club with some company that was local nearby to Rutgers. Maybe that's what you're talking about. I believe you. There's probably some Bender project that's on my LinkedIn. I just don't remember it at all, bro. So, but I get the link between Bender and gay. I get the joke you made. I just don't remember the project that I did. Yeah, I have no idea what Bender project was. I forgot about a lot. Dude, I don't remember a lot of stuff about classes in college. I remember a lot about more experiences, but yeah, dude, I was the director of the consulting club. Legit. As a freshman, which doesn't mean much. They needed someone to be like the director, right? Like I wasn't the president, so they needed someone to be the director. I was like, okay, I'll be the director, and then I got to put it on my resume as it, like it means something that I'm the director of the like. All of it is bullshit. It's just stuff to make it seem like you fluff up your like experiences, so that when you apply to some job, they're like, oh, he was the director of consulting, or like blah blah blah. None of it was real. The real experience comes from like going out and doing stuff. So. All right, that's it. I'm done. I will be back at 10:50. We'll look at Grok 4, and hopefully we'll get to play with it, and we'll see what Grok gets to do. So there you go. That's it. Thank you, everybody, for staying here, being live. We will be back at around probably like 10:45, 10:50 p.m. Eastern. If you are not awake for that, totally get it. But we will see Elon introduce Grok V4, and then we'll keep going from there. All right. That's it. Appreciate you guys. See you all in a few hours. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.